And we're live. Welcome, everyone. I have an amazing show for you today. Look at me. I sound like a professional streamer. I had it there, then I lost it. How's everyone doing tonight? I have an incredible show for you today, and we're going to go through, I promise today, some really good stuff. We are at a turning point, everyone. We are at a turning point, and I think things are going to get better. They don't look like that, but I do believe things are going to get better. Stay with me and let's go through some of the videos I selected for you today. We'll watch them together. And I'm writing an article or a series of articles to put things together because if you follow through with me, there's like a thorough through line that connects all of these things. So let's see if I'm capable of doing that or across several shows. I don't know yet. This may require some more work, but I'm discovering this as we go, and you're with me on the journey. So I hope you're enjoying a great evening, and thank you for joining at this time. I intend for them to be in the evening, kind of finishing the day. I'm not sure you want to finish the day with my amazing company, but hey, where else you want to go? So for all of you, those lonely people who want some company, here it is. Let's jump right in, and I want to share with you this quote that I remember hearing it before, and I think it's really amazing. Is this the one? Yes. So I just posted this, and this is by James Baldwin. And if you're not familiar with James Baldwin, I mean, not that you should, but I think he's a brilliant man. This is James Baldwin. He's an American writer and civil rights activist. I highly recommend any videos you find for him on YouTube. It's it's very interesting. Let's put it this way. Incredible person. So let's read what he said. And he said, I love America more than any other country in the world. And exactly for that reason, I insist on the right to criticize her repeatedly or perpetually, sorry. So, I mean, isn't that exactly um, where we are right now? Everything, all kind of criticism uh, of America, all kind of criticism in work, even in our lives. When we approach someone, people are somewhat averse to criticism. They for some reason we became sensitive and insensitive at the same time. We want people to accept us as we are, abrasive, rude. For some reason, you're seeing this culture of edginess, and at the same time, if you give feedback or criticize someone, they clutch to they clutch their pearls. And I don't know, like it's quite shocking. I mean, again, you like one of the things I do here is I talk about political figures, but in a non-political setting sometimes. So if we take Trump, and not regardless of where you sit, right, left, whatever your thoughts are about him politically, but if we just examine his behavior and we look at his behavior as someone who came on the scene, and everybody said that he's criticizing America, and he said like the American dream is dead, that this is bad, this is bad. And a lot of people saw that as a refreshing, somebody who's direct, somebody who doesn't hold back, somebody who doesn't shy from the truth and telling it as it is. But then when other people criticize what what he's doing, he's upset. It's like, they never give me credit. How many people did he give credit to when he first came on the scene, for example? And again, it's forget politics aside, the behavior itself. And don't you see that very much so in the work environment? You see it with CEOs, you see it with these founders sometimes, as when they say something, some highfalutin idea about, an opinion or something. You see it with Elon Musk, for example, way before his political things. Any kind of criticism immediately labels the person. I mean, if you remember, I think the takeover of Twitter, he was talking, and there were some engineers that were questioning him on um, like the idea that he's going to rewrite all the code from the bottom up. And engineers challenged him on this. Now, if he was what he calls himself as an engineer and someone who understands tech and stuff like that, and this is, again, has nothing to do with my hatred of Elon, which is very well known at this moment, I would imagine, but has nothing to do with that. Leave that aside, and let's analyze his behavior as a CEO, as someone who's, supposedly open and brings up. He was talking in public about his plans. So when you put your plans out in public, you would expect all kinds of opinions of those plans. Some of them will, right or wrong, will say those plans work, don't work. Will break them down. Will analyze. Will challenge them. And I think I remember what he said. One of those engineers told him, like, why would you rewrite the code from the bottom up? That doesn't make any sense. And he challenged him. And Elon Musk said, I think he called him an asshole, and I think he asked the person to be like kicked out of the what was it, X? I think, what do you call these spaces? What were something, whatever X does. I haven't. It has been a while since I haven't done these uh, clubhouse like calls, if you wish. And such thin skinned for someone who's supposedly suggesting the ideas and open for discussion, and suggests the ability for people to discuss and challenge. And that's part of how you get better. That's part of the startup culture. That's part of the business culture as well. And you see it's becoming more rampant. Because I have this position, or because I'm suggesting something, nobody's allowed to criticize. Nobody's allowed to point where things don't work. And the moment you do that, an army of people, you know, attacks you and tells you, "Don't you know who you're talking to?" So we're seeing that happen quite a bit. And I love this quote by James Baldwin, because it says that criticism and actually comes from love, comes from a place of wanting to add value, not the opposite. Because in fact, you learn in business that if you don't get bad feedback, or you don't get feedback at all, you're not actually developing the business. You're gonna The moment you push the limits, you're going to get bad feedback. You're going to get people who don't like that. And in fact, those customers are doing you a service. Why? Because for every customer who voices or speaks up, there are 100 more that will not speak up, that will not open up about the challenges um, they are facing, or they are dealing with your company and your product. So it's a chance to develop your product when they actually give you criticism, and how you deal with that shows the kind of person you are. And I think we are plagued with people who are thin-skinned snowflakes who cannot stand somebody criticizing them. And that's why I wanted to start with that quote. And I think it's the epitome of where we are today, and one of the main challenges of the hypocrisy of wanting to criticize and wanting your opinions and your criticism to be accepted as something that is great, and the unwillingness um, to accept somebody's criticism and feedback that will help you get better. So, with that, let's jump into Kyle Kalinski's video, which I think is brilliant. I love Kyle Kalinske, Secular Talk. He's one of the, I think, co-founders of the Justice Democrats, um, that brought you Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and Ilhan Omar. So let's see. So, and he has this show on YouTube, which I like very much and follow. Let's just fix the. All right, so we have it. I think I'm just gonna fix the. Okay, and here we go. Let's watch Kyle Kalinske. And this video is about MAGA has no fucking idea what they started. And let's see what he's talking about.
Hope that there are at least some conservatives watching this segment that I'm about to do right now, because I actually think it's really important. I actually think this is vital. I think this is crucial for this country that some conservatives, MAGA or otherwise, watch this segment to understand what's happened in this country as a result of what they've done. That this is 110% on them. So what you're about to see here is a clip. There's this girl by the name of, I think it's Caitlin Bennett. She was this conservative it girl. I want to say like 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, something like that. Then she had an unfortunate event where I think she shit herself in public, and that led to her sort of no longer being the it girl.
I remember that actually.
Quick rise and fall for this Caitlin Bennett lady. I think she was with the TPUSA people, but I could be wrong on that. But anyway,
don't they have the strangest people in the world for some reason? And don't get me wrong, like I don't want to make this it's about us and them, but this is not, and I think it's important to clarify, this is not about people who vote Republican or people who believe in Republican values or the Republican base. This is about the leaders of the so-called MAGA movement, which you're gonna see. I have a very hot take on that. So the leaders, the new leaders of the unfettered capitalism, the people that are the richest, the most powerful, the people that are taking all of these political and powerful positions in corporate, in media, and in politics, and in political commentating, and let's say the independent media, which is like completely astroturfed on the far right side. So this is who we're talking about, and I think that's what Kyle is mentioning. We're not talking about the farmer, barely making ends meet in some rural town in Ohio or somewhere in Utah, for example. We're not talking about that. These are not people that have caused this and have given rise to that. This is the people that took the power and kind of tricked those people, the set of scammers and grifters and all of these people who are there just to co-opt people's desire for change. This is who he's talking about. So not the voters. Not that there's anything, we'll criticize them if there is, but these are the people the people who are on Twitter all the time. Those people.
Anyway, she decided to do some woman on the street type interviews, I guess, during the No Kings protest here. And this moment really caught her eye, and she posted it. And, she's trying to make the argument here. Look at how deranged these liberals are these days, these liberal wine moms in this instance. But let me play this clip for you, and then I'll explain how this is the world that MAGA built. This is the world that the Republican Party built, that we did not live in this world until they decided to make this world like this. Take a look.
Whatever his name was?
Charlie Kirk, ma'am?
Yeah, him is horrible. Horrible.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you
so
be
sorry.
glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died.
Let me explain something to you guys.
Oh my God. Kyle's gonna break it down, but oh my God. I don't know how to explain it, but Kyle's gonna do a great job in breaking it down. This is a video I watched. Not all the videos I watched fully, but this is a video I watched because I couldn't. Sometimes I watch a piece of it and I want to continue watching it with you, but I couldn't stop here because Kyle breaks it down perfectly.
These are women who, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they were watching Ellen DeGeneres on daytime TV. These are grandmas who pick their kids up from soccer practice, who make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the morning, who, make dinner every night for their useless fucking husband who's glued to the TV, right? They play fucking pickleball with their fellow 73-year-olds. Like, these women, this is your fucking mom, bro. This is your mom. This is your grandma. That's who this is. These are people who fucking live at the Villages in Florida, which is supposed to be a very, right-wing retirement community. And look at how they're talking. Look, what I want to say to the right is, you had your chance, right? Like, it was Michelle Obama, the first lady, who very famously came out and said, when they go low, we go high. And that was the fucking mantra of the Democratic Party. Not just from the beginning of the Obama years, 2008, he always reached across the aisle. He always was bipartisan. He always was willing to work with Republicans and give them.
Which everybody took it actually against him, and we still take it against him. I would take it against him because Democrats are always very, very, I would say, easy on Republicans. They never fight. We right now, we're like, everybody's pulling their hair. Like, that's why I don't have any, because the Democrats, the leaders, Democratic leaders, they don't fight. They don't fight at all. They don't put any fight. I don't think he mentions it. But one of the things that drives me crazy is that everybody says, Democrats. The biggest challenge that you would see is that, like, the Democrats are, most Democratic senators are kind of Republican light. They are what the Republicans used to be. The Obamacare is a Republican plan. I think it's Mitt Romney's plan, and even then they held it back. Even they didn't allow it to pass. Biden's agenda was stopped not by the Republicans, was stopped by the Democrats. Not all of them. 2 senators. So they stopped Biden's agenda. The Democrats are not on the side of the left. They are, at best, center left. At best.
Multiple chances. It was from like 2008 all the way until fucking 2025, bro.
Yeah.
It was from 2008 until 2025. You motherfuckers had nearly 20 fucking years to not spit in the eye of liberals and leftists day in and day out. And we wouldn't have ended up here.
Exactly. Snowflakes, woke, the enemies of America, what does Donald Trump say? He says that, if only we handle the Democrats, we'll be fine. I mean, the president of the United States says to his, if we're supposed to accept what the Republican framing is, which is Donald Trump is one of the most beloved presidents, one of the most, he has a mandate, everybody voted for him, everybody loves him, he's doing the greatest for America. And then this guy stands on the podium with all the power that he has, and he calls the Democrats vermin, or calls anyone vermin, calls people, the immigrants, legal immigrants, I don't remember the town, they eating the cats and the dogs. He talks to the military and says, let's make the cities, the Democratic cities, training ground for the military. And then he says, we'll be all okay if we just get rid of this little problem called the Democrats. He has rabid following, people that listen to everything he does. What do you think those people are going to do? And we're supposed to act like it's normal? Doesn't make any sense.
We wouldn't have ended up here.
Yeah.
But let's call it what it is. The radicalization of the right.
Mm-hmm.
The right's move to the far right. the open fucking fascism that's now everywhere on the right has made it so your grandma is sympathetic to Che Guevara.
I mean, the latest leak of text is incredible. These guys are like, when is the gas chambers coming in? I love Hitler. Come on. That's insane. And these are like kids, 40 years old, 35 years old. I'm sorry, if you're 20 years old, you're not a kid anymore. You should be held responsible. If you're old enough to drive and if you're old enough to drink, you're not a kid anymore. Well, not drive basically, but that's 16. But if you're old enough to drink and if you're old enough to hold office and work with the politicians, you're no longer a kid. And even if you're a kid, you would hold a kid responsible. If my kid is saying, I love Hitler, I'm going to have a serious conversation with him. So that's what he's talking about, that these are the guys that are pushing people.
Your grandma is sympathetic to fucking Fidel Castro. Your grandma looks around and realizes, holy shit, there are fucking demons that live among us. And these people are intent on destroying this goddamn country.
I love Kyle Kalinske because one thing that I think I appreciate about him is he never holds back. He is honest, direct. He says it like it is, and he never holds back. So when you listen to him, it's kind of a cathartic experience.
We could not have ended up in this place if Republicans didn't double down, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down, over and over and over.
They never take anything back. They never apologize for everything. They never are accountable, responsible, or anything. Everything they do is right. Doesn't it like, let's
Insane.
put him here.
Saying,
So, because I don't like him to show up, but doesn't it like raise some questions in you? Aren't they decide? I mean, like if you're a human at all, doesn't it raise questions with you that they're never accountable? Like if somebody's saying it's never me, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them. Like if somebody works with you and every time anything happens in the company, they never take responsibility, never. They're always on the right side. Isn't it like, who want to work with that person? It's like, well, if you're not never responsible, maybe you're not doing anything. Maybe you're not part of the whole, work and collective that we're aiming against. What are you doing then if everything is somebody else's fault? And it just drives me crazy that people don't even bring it up.
we don't believe in compromise. We don't believe in negotiation. We don't believe in diplomacy. We don't believe in bipartisanship. We don't believe in good faith.
That's what he's saying, that the Republicans, I missed one thing, but he's saying that that's what they're doing. That's what led to this.
Discussions and conversations. It 100% is on the right. And this is the impact of Trump. The other thing is, what is Trump known for? Trump's known for, I never fucking apologize. I never apologize. Fuck you. Fuck your feelings. You know, I'm a bull in a china shop. I say what I want. I have no fucking filter. It is what it is.
And then when anybody on any other side does even a fraction of that, it's like, oh my God, clutching pearls. Oh my God, how dare you? How dare you, sir? Do that.
Deal with it, you stupid lib. Go ahead. You want to cry about it? Go ahead and cry about it. Well, now, all those qualities and characteristics, liberals and leftists finally realized, okay, in order to fucking play by the same rules, we got to be like that now. So now you hear shit like this. And the part on top of all of this is just the objective harm that's been done to the country, not just with how callous Trump is and the way he uses his words and the way he always fucking smears his opponents. No, it's also like literally what he's done to this country.
Which is the most important point. It's not just talk. It's not that we are hurt or triggered by your talk. It's actually the things that you do.
The fact that he killed an increase in overtime pay for millions of workers, that's something. Biden increased the overtime pay, he killed it. The fact that he killed the $15 minimum wage for federal contractors.
These federal contractors have families that are impacted by that. They're part of communities that are impacted by that. The idea, I think what they always think is that, you know, we're harming individual people. They don't see how America is interconnected. They are not as separated as these people in power. These people in power have grown surrounded by, you have to remember, you know, what's his name? Baron Trump? Just quickly, I want to talk about this. One of the things that is really they I think they forget is that these people grew up. There are, I think, two or three types of people that are in the Trump administration and Trump sphere. People who are filthy rich, and those people are have grown up with all pampered. They're surrounded by people who serve them. Everybody runs to because of their money. Everybody does whatever they ask. So they never really interacted with real people. Trump keeps on saying that. It's like groceries. What a fun word, groceries. Why is it like groceries is part of everyday life of every freaking person in the world, except for people who are extremely rich. They never touch anything. He never even went to a kitchen to unless to eat, maybe. So I mean, they try to humanize them by he's going to McDonald's to show that he can work in a McDonald's, but that's as far as it goes. These people have never interacted with real people. The second part of people are people who have been disowned by their own family, like Stephen Miller, like RFK. Their family doesn't even like them, so of course they're on their own. So you have rich people which are always on their own, and everyone around them is serving them. And you have then people who are really on their own because their family can't stand them because they're just atrocious to be around, a Nazi and a madman. And then you have the grifters, the people who benefit from being in that realm. They corrupt, they pay money, all of that, so that they benefit from being in the vicinity of the Trump regime. So these are the kind of three types of people that are there. There's no one there serving the country. Zero serving the country. In the first administration, maybe there were people out of a sense of service, they showed up and do that. In the second Trump administration, nobody's there to serve the country. Everybody's there to serve an agenda. The agenda is Project 2025. The agenda is, making as much money as possible, taking as much money as possible from the wealth, destroying the government so that there's no regulation at all. These are their agendas. So this is who they are. So what happens, the point here is that because they are these kind of people, what ends up happening is that they are antithesis to everything else other people deal with. They can't relate to the people who are, when you cut the salary of that person, you think you're harming one person, but that person has a family. That family is interconnected with the community. When they suffer, and many of them suffer, and they can't lean on each other, you start seeing collapse. You start seeing people who lose hope. And there is nothing more scarier than people who don't have hope, for people who can't find a solution out of things. You're basically locking them into a corner. You're like holding their livelihood above their head. They're hostages. They're not people that are free to do something. They can't just, find work, especially that you have the AI overloads kind of destroying their jobs. You bring people, one of the key things is that they bring people, and like this, Mark Zuckerberg, 600 billion, whatever, Apple, 300 billion or whatever number, and then 20 trillion. You hear all of these great, accomplishment, and that the economy will be great. And you see the stocks rising for all of these companies. And then you see around you people being fired, people people you grew up around, your neighbors being fired and not having money. And you can't, to a certain extent, even if you own all the media and have all the money and have all the messaging, at a certain point, reality will break through. And this is what he's talking about, and this is what's happening.
Which reduced pay for 400,000 federal contractors. The fact that he destroyed the NLRB with anti-union picks and destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was like the one government agency that was making sure you didn't get fucking scammed. The fact that he outsourced hundreds of thousands of jobs. The fact that he's raising taxes on the working class while cutting taxes for the billionaire class.
And what does Steve Bannon has the audacity to say on, I think it's the Financial, was it the Financial Times that interviewed him? There's a new interview that came out. And Steve Bannon says, we're putting the working class first, and it's time for them to come back. Absolute, complete garbage. I mean, this is the guy that started a fund to fund the wall and ended up stealing from it. They're all grifters. There's not one of them that believes in what they're saying. Zero. They just believe in their own agenda of control, power, and money. That's it.
The fact that he's cutting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. The fact that 2.3 million people lost health care in his first term, and now they're kicking 15 million people off Medicaid and trying to double, triple, and quadruple your premium by cutting off the Obamacare subsidies. The fact that he fucking illegally bombed Iran, illegally bombed Yemen and Somalia, is doing war with Venezuela right now, is threatening Mexico and Greenland and Panama. Trump made this country what it is now, and he has radicalized the other side of the political aisle, and now you're going to have to fucking deal with that fallout. Now you're going to have to deal with that fallout. And by the way, a little message to Democratic politicians. These are your voters now.
Oh my God, this is such a great point, which is get a backbone. Have a spine. Build up the courage, because these are the people, your voters are asking you to fight back. Stand up for them.
These are your voters now. Do you think it's going to suffice to go out there? Well, gosh, I think we should probably take the temperature down, and I think we should find a way to be, because we're Americans. We're all Americans.
That is that is a caricature of almost all Democrats, except for a few, which we are going to talk about. But except for a few, this is all the Democrats. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, really? These are the guys? These are the scary Democrats, the radical left. They didn't even say anything. They didn't even endorse Zohran Mamdani. I mean, I think Hakeem Jeffries maybe endorsed him yesterday or something. And the election is what? Today, early election, and in a few days. What are we talking about? These people are not radical leftists. They don't fight at all. This is who they are. Just like exactly what Kyle's doing.
There's no red America and blue America. There's only the United States of America. That sounded more like an elephant than a fart, but you get the point. Like, people, you think that's going to work? You think that's going to work? Listen to these women. Listen to them. Listen to them. They're done. It's over. They want you to fucking crusade for left-wing values now. They want you, fucking no holds barred, bro. No holds barred.
True.
They want you out there saying, we want universal basic income, Social Security for all. We want a 4-day work week. We want to eliminate medical debt. We want to eliminate student loan debt. We want a higher minimum wage. We want to end the wars. We want to end the corruption. We want the number one infrastructure in the world. What the fuck are we letting Republicans destroy this country for? Where every decision they make is to become more fascist and more pro-billionaire. Every decision they make is to squeeze the working class. Every decision they make is more imperialism, more dead bodies overseas.
Here, here.
This country's ready for a fucking abrupt U-turn. Abrupt U-turn. And look, that's it's crazy, right? Because like people like me are looked at as the fringe on the left, and then it's like nobody ever put a mic in front of my face and I said, I'm glad X is dead. That never happened. But the fucking liberal wine moms, they've been broken. They've been radicalized by the right, and it 100% is the right's fault, because we never would have been in this place if the right didn't bring us to this place.
That is so true. You have to remember, these moms have granddaughters, have daughters that are struggling because of the reduction or the takeaway of the rights of women, the attack on women, transgender, immigrants. These are their friends, their family, their extended family. This is impacting everyone. The attacks right now, you're gonna see, like, I think in this one or the other one, there's like the food lines. It's remarkable. I posted an old post. I reposted it on online, and it's on LinkedIn, and it talks about military family standing in line for groceries. That was happening like months ago.
These women never would have said anything like this. Never would have even been out there protesting if Trump didn't break this fucking country.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump wasn't building a fucking $300 million ballroom funded by billionaires at the same time that he's refusing to release the food stamp money, which means millions of Americans, 40 million Americans are going to go hungry. 15 million Americans losing their Medicaid.
I mean, how cruel do you need to be? The problem with this authoritarian, this is not an authoritarian regime. I was thinking about that, and I was reflecting on my experience as I was reflecting on my experience as someone who grew up around authoritarianism or under authoritarianism, basically in Syria. I grew up in Syria, in Damascus, Syria. And we had, let's say, roughly two systems there. There is the Iraq, Saddam Hussein authoritarianism, and then there is the Hafiz al-Assad authoritarianism. And there's an interesting distinction between them. Saddam Hussein was a butcher. He would literally take out his gun and shoot someone, one of his relatives, cousins, whoever, he would doubt that he's betraying him, or that, I don't know, not listening. He's known for doing these kind of things. In fact, his son, some of the stories is that his son would sometimes, they're like, I call them butchers. They're not authoritarianism, they're butchers. His son would who would walk into a wedding, and he would take the bride, kind of like, I think this is what I saw in Braveheart. I don't know if that's the case, but what they call prima nocta. I don't know if that is, but it's the idea that the royal will have the first night with the newlywed instead of her husband. And this guy would go kidnap the girl and assault her and leave her in the street after. Of course, destroying her life, destroying the life of her family, and all of that. This is who they were. That's Saddam Hussein, complete butcher, like known to be insane. Hafiz al-Assad, on the other hand, just to be clear, not less of a butcher than Saddam, but on the outside, the way it operated in Syria, there was never anything like that. In fact, his son was always putting on the best behavior. Hafiz al-Assad was known to be extremely strategic in how he managed the balance of power. So gave, let's say, Damascene merchants from Damascus, merchants from Aleppo, the second largest city in Syria, and other people, business people, gave them kind of free reign to build their wealth and power. And some of them are some of the most capable in the world. Damascus is known to be part of Silk Road, one of the oldest capitals in the world. In fact, some of the merchants don't even send their sons to business school, because the best business school is to actually sit at their small shop and control the movement of commodities around the world. They're extremely, extremely rich, extremely powerful, and well connected. Hafiz al-Assad worked with them, but in such a way that builds up Syria, in the sense that Syria was a regional force. He came from the military. He came from a poor background. So he understood people's struggle. He didn't come from a rich background, came from a poor background, came from the military. He was someone in the military and a formidable person. Now, I'm not singing him praises, but he wasn't an idiot. He managed the geopolitical balance of power very, very smartly. So he wasn't an idiot. In addition to that, he quailed the people. He basically made sure that people had what they needed. What do I mean by that? We didn't have much. We had lines to get tea, sugar, and rice because of the sanctions, but there were bread bakeries everywhere, and bread was always cheap. You could get it like for a few pounds. Basically, no one could go hungry in Syria. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't. These are generalization, obviously. And he bought the wheat from the farmers, so the farmers would grow. So you would own your land, it never taken. It's not like a socialist country, or they call socialist. There's no such thing. So the I would say the caricature of socialist. So it wasn't like that, where country, my grandfather was extremely rich. My father didn't want any of that money, which is a different story. But my grandfather used to put money in potato bags. That's how much money he had. So his land. But when Hafez Assad came along, he said, all of the wheat, we will buy it, and we will buy it at a price that is set by the government. So you still sold your money, sold your wheat, and you made money depending on how much land you have. But the government controlled that, let's say, that important sector, and it will take it and it will actually bake bread. And everybody had bread. I think you're like 5-minute walk from the closest bakery, wherever you are, kind of in Damascus, in, I think, in Aleppo, and around the let's say, I'm not sure how it is around the other cities, but generally there wasn't like mass hunger, people in food lines, people struggling. You lived a good life under him. Of course, don't touch politics. And he was ruthless with his enemies. You would disappear in a second. So this wasn't, but it wasn't like on screen. He maintained a very important element. Like, of course, he stole from the country and had billions and millions of dollars, but it wasn't on screen. He was never seen fraternizing with the business leaders, or spending time with them. He was seen as a political leader that was basically on a mission, and people had their basic needs met. The problem right now with America is those basic needs are not met. So you can't be an authoritarian and maintain power when the people that you're supposed to lead, or to be on top of, or to control, are uncontrollable. You can't control them because you push them into a corner. That is what's happening. You're pushing them into a corner. You're taking away their food safety, security. You're taking away their health care. You're impacting their children. You're taking away their pay. You're firing them. The other companies, you're promised this great economy and it's not working. What do you think is going to happen? So they are more butchers kind of authoritarian, which is brute force. You're gonna be on our side or you're the enemy, period. That's what but the problem is, you can't do that in America, because America, first of all, is far bigger than Iraq. And the military, you haven't reached a point where I don't think we've reached a point where it is possible, that, let's say, you can kill someone and not have issues, right? They are doing a lot of damage. Let me say, it's not like because they're restrained. They are as much of butchers as the Saddam family and whoever was his lackeys. Same thing with the with Trump and everyone around him. They have no issues cutting food from hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of children. They have no issues as at cutting snaps. Just because you're not pulling the trigger or stabbing someone, that doesn't mean you're less of someone who's part of their death and their suffering. So this is the main issue, and that's why you're seeing this radicalization, because those people are seeing the people being harmed and impacted by that. And this is this is not an effective authoritarian regime, because they're not giving people what they need to stay calm, to find at least the basic needs. If I was them, this is how I would do authoritarianism, let's say this Syrian style. You have all of these billionaires. You tell them, listen, we're gonna prop. This is my advice to to Trump, but just to illustrate for you the difference between what could have happened, so that they can succeed in their, let's say, authoritarian takeover. For them to succeed in that, there are a few things that need to take place. And that's why I think they're failing. Today, my biggest announcement, and I think I'm writing about that, is rest in peace, MAGA. The MAGA movement is dead. Everything that has to do with Trump, like the whole thing, the belief, the myth, all of that is dead or dying. The only people who believe in that are two kind of people who are benefiting and people who are blind. That's it. Anybody who has any kind of common sense, anything that they see the reality, and that is what's happening. And that is the same that happens with a company when you actually see the reality. And it's happening in AI as well. You have all these the same, I would say, mechanics where you have all these big promises. AGI, how much we like 2 years ago was like AGI, we ushered the age of AGI. Everything's going to be fine, your world's going to be better. And here we are 2-3 years into it. AI companies are becoming richer, but is our experience becoming better? Is our life becoming better? The answer is no. And that is so when you promise and even promise and promise bigger and promise bigger, we're going to be on Mars, we're going to travel. The Tesla, what is it, Elon Musk has promised recently in his what is it, shareholder announcement. He said something around Tesla, this car is what is it, it's going to be bored. Something like that. The car is going to be bored. It's so intelligent that it's going to be bored be in a car. I don't know what he's on, but it's interesting. Like, what is going on? Like, who believes that shit? I mean, when did he promise? We should be now on Mars, right? And building the colony on Mars, right? That's what we should be. We should have complete auto self-driving like 5-10 years ago. I don't know. I lost track of the failed promises. The same thing applies into the Trump administration, the Trump regime, is that those promises that have zero existence in reality. And people, they're going to break through. Reality is going to break through when you're paying higher. Whatever someone tells you, however they gaslight you, reality is going to break through. Sunlight is going to shine after all of these clouds, no matter how thick the clouds are. It's going to peek in, and people are going to start seeing what's going on, and they're going to start waking up. And this is what's happening. Preach, Kyle. Preach.
Right? Like I said, healthcare premiums doubling, tripling, quadrupling. 1 million government workers furloughed. I think what these women have surmised is, the Republicans don't fucking care about us. What they're trying to do is make this country a Christian nationalist, white nationalist, fascist, oligarchy, pro-billionaire hellhole. And so they're like, I'm going to do anything and everything to stop that. So go ahead. I know what they'll do. I know what the right will do. They'll run this clip and they'll fucking clutch their pearls and they'll say, how dare these people? But I want to reiterate it. Look at these women. That's fucking Doris, bro. That is Doris, who plays at the tennis club, right? Like this is not the boogeyman of the fucking scary leftist. This is like your mom and your grandma. And look, I've seen it in my own life. I mean, my mom wouldn't say stuff like this, but I've seen her go from like a Republican voter when I was younger to in 2008 she became a Democratic voter to now she's out there saying stuff like Trump's fucking destroying this country. Like, I worry about the future. I worry about my grandkids, and I think that's happening with way more people than you realize. Way more people than you realize. And the Democrats need to wake up to that reality and adjust accordingly, because they've made it perfectly clear for nearly 2 decades. We're not interested in negotiation. We're not interested in compromise. We're not interested in diplomacy. We're not interested in all being Americans and working it out. We're interested in us having a total victory and you fucking off for all we care. You basically shouldn't even fucking exist as far as we care, right? Okay. Duly noted, and we'll react accordingly. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe.
So this is, I think, the key here of what, let's say, we're dealing with. And I think it's important to understand the implications. These people are done. People are done with this charade. So That's our first video. I highly recommend you go to Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske, subscribe to him, and he doesn't hold back. Like right now, look at this, look at his face, and about Kamala running, Kamala running again. So I think that's interesting. So the second video we're going to watch together is this. Let's see. Oh, this one takes the cake, I think. Let's look at this one. This one takes the cake to show you how far off we've gone.
Do you support having a refugee admissions policy in this country that only admits white refugees?
Senator, I don't make that policy.
Well, but it's
I
really important. But I
simply
think this is if I were to ask this question of virtual.
Oh my God! Like this is very, very interesting and almost insane that these people do not even lie. Have you noticed more than once do that? Like these people lie. They're politicians. Their political positions. He can lie easily. He can say, I don't support, like, of course, I will support let's say, the policies of the United States, or something, or I only support the policies of the United States that exist right now, or I support something that goes with our Constitution. He can come up with all kinds of things. What he can answer this in a very political manner that kind of like BS speak. But you noticed that I think since many of the nominees, they don't want to even lie. So, and they don't want to say what they believe. So they're like sitting in this place where I just won't say it because I know you want me to say it, and I know you want me to say what I believe, but I don't want to say what I believe, because if I say what I believe, like people will know what I believe and will know the truth. That is basically what's happening here, is that people will know the truth about what I believe, and then you have something on me. But you're already not saying no. If you're not saying no to the wrong thing, which is in this case a policy to allow people to, what did he say? Like I want to say it exactly like he said it. Let's do that.
Do you support having a refugee admissions policy in this country that only admits white refugees?
This is it should be a layup. It's like, of course not. We don't consider people based on color. We support people based on merit, whatever he can come up with. He couldn't even say no to that. Why? Either he's appealing to Trump and he doesn't want to anger him, or he doesn't believe in that and doesn't want to be held to do that, as if they care about hypocrisy. It's insane. It's really.
Senator, I don't make that policy.
Oh
well, but it's really important. But I think this is if I were to ask this question of virtually any nominee to be an ambassador prior to this panel, that would be an easy layup answer. No, of course, we don't support having a refugee policy where we only admit white people. So why can't you give me your personal view on that?
Because, Senator, I am here to serve America and to do what the president is asking me to do. I'll be following the executive order of February.
Would you support reinstituting laws in this country to only allow white people to vote?
Senator, I'm going to serve as ambassador to South Africa, and I'm going to focus on that.
You are a political appointee, and you couldn't even say, and of course not, we support, everybody needs the right to vote. So this is where it's heading, folks. This is where it's heading. It's insane.
You will not share your personal views on whether it is right or wrong to reinstitute discriminatory policies in this country to prevent black people from voting?
Senator, my personal views are irrelevant.
Really? What do you mean your personal views are irrelevant? I was like, my view is I support I support crime, but my personal views that I support crime should not stop me from becoming the FBI director. What the hell? Of course, your personal views are extremely important. They are relevant. And not only that, it's not just your views, because your views are going to govern your actions. This idea that everybody is completely, you activate in business or in your position different than your views are, never going to work. Of course, everything that you do is an extension of what you believe and how you enact on those beliefs.
I am serving here to do what the president is asking me to do in South Africa.
Well, that's just simply not true. The whole reason that you're appearing before this committee is because your personal views, your history is absolutely relevant to your fitness to serve. We wouldn't have this process if your personal views were not relevant. That is pretty stunning that you will not share your views not only on whether we should have a refugee admissions process that is race-based, but you won't share your personal views on whether we should reimpose discriminatory treatment against Black Americans. That is absolutely relevant to your qualifications to serve, and your refusal to answer it, I hope, is something that every member of this committee will think about.
This is one of the things that drives me crazy is that the Democrats do this just to show you how weak they are. Imagine this was a Republican attacking a Democrat on anything. Do you think they will hold back? He should say what he thinks. He should say, not the committee should think about that. I think you should be rejected for this. I think we should not approve you. That's what he should say, if that's what he believes. But it tells you how weak the Democrats is. Of course, good question, but theater nonetheless. This should be immediate disqualification. All right. So what else are we going to see? I think this is an important one also by Kyle Kalinske, and it's about how red states are collapsing. Let's look at that.
Today, we have a lot of stuff to jump into today. So in just a second, the write-up in the news, minute smear attempts is now crowned as the little cuck boy. Guy Harris says she a big time and cost you absolute episodes. We try to do them every Monday at 8 week, I should say, with an expert who's been literally could not do without you. You on an ad read, never talk to outlets that gets from the bottom.
That's what I love about Kyle Kalinske. Doesn't do ads. Doesn't is not beholden to any billionaire. No billionaire paid for this. Okay, this guy has been doing it since I think 2008 or 2009, and started. Even he was struggling for a long time because his channel was impacted by the YouTube algorithm. I think for a long time was he like under 1 million and couldn't even reach 1 million. Like for several years, it was penalized as a channel. So great guy to listen to. Whether you agree with him or not, he's honest. That is what we want. Like, even I'm happy to listen to someone who disagrees with me. But the biggest problem is that when people are paid and co-opted to have the opinions that they have, to push for the beliefs that they push for, it's not because they believe in it. It's because that is what makes them money. And that is who I don't want to listen to, because I want your honesty and I want you to be honest and direct with me. And then I can make my judgment. Otherwise, if I'm making my judgment on things that are not honest, not based in reality, it's based on your made up beliefs that you're being paid to, then why am I here?
From my heart. And also thank you to everybody who tips on YouTube. There's a thanks button below. I really appreciate all the support there as well. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, the red states are not exempt from being clobbered by Trump's policies. Now, the other day, we talked about how $27 billion has been withheld from the blue states. So this is federal.
Can you imagine this? Can you imagine if a Democratic president, and this is not about Democrat, but a president holding funds from the people. Let's remember that these blue states are not blue in the sense that they're not all blue. You know, what I call like all Democrats and people who vote blue. America, even if the state vote red or blue, that doesn't mean, it just means that the majority or of the people who voted for, let's say the president. But on the local stage, sometimes you have red states in the sense that the people, the most representative, are Republicans, but how they voted to the president is different. So just because the state is blue doesn't mean it doesn't have Republican people who vote Republican. And it shouldn't matter at all how people voted to how the president serves. When they voted for you and now you're president of the United States of America. You're not president of the red states. You're not president of the blue states. You're president of the United States of America. Your job is to serve the American people. Your job is to add value and to help and to elevate and to work for the American people, not red, blue. So this is insane that this alone, like forget anything and everything that Trump is doing and his administration is doing. This alone should be enough for taking every single one in the administration, kicking them out of their jobs and throwing them in jail for breaking their oath of office. Because when you swear your oath, you don't say, I'm going to serve the people who voted for me. I'm going to serve the American people. I'm going to adhere to the Constitution of the United States, not the red states or the blue states. This is it. This is the most insane thing to be said. And not everyone is outraged. And I think that's the other. Let's be clear. Who's not outraged are the mainstream media and the grifters of the right-wing media. That's it. These are the people that are not talking about it. But everyone on the street, people on the ground, the people who demonstrated for no kings are the are seeing this, and they don't agree don't agree with it. In fact, if you remember, the Republican representatives stopped doing town halls because they were clobbered in their town halls from Republicans. People who were telling them, what are you doing allowing Trump to do this? He's not a king, which is why they participated in No King protest. Shout out to No King, and shout out to our No King t-shirt. Make sure you get that. We would like your support. Any support that comes in obviously helps the work that I'm doing. If you like the work that I'm doing, please share your support. You will find all my links there. So I would appreciate that, just like Kyle asked for his support.
Tax money that by law has to go to blue states. And Trump said, I'm going to hold this back because fuck them, basically. There was only...
Kyle Kalinske he doesn't speak like that all the time. He's definitely doesn't hold back and say, but I think we reached a point where, there's nothing else you can say. So this is the only way you can talk to people right now, because this is the real way. That's it. It's civility. The civility politics is dead. That's it.
Less than $1 billion, $700 million that's been withheld from red states. Okay, so that right there would seem to indicate, well, Trump's going softer on the red states, and so they have it easier. But here's the problem. His broader economic policies are just absolutely eviscerating these states. So let me walk you through it here. Let's start. There was a big article in the New York Times about this. Look at this. Since siding with Barack Obama twice, Iowa has become a stronghold for Mr. Trump. Yet perhaps no state has struggled more with his economic policies. During the first quarter of 2025, Iowa's gross domestic product dropped by 6.1%, more than any other state aside from neighboring Nebraska, also super red state. Manufacturing, which drives 17% of Iowa's economic output, has been hit with higher production costs, in part because of steep tariffs on inputs like aluminum and steel. Meatpacking plants, which help make Iowa the nation's leading pork producer, rely heavily on foreign-born workers, hundreds of thousands of whom saw their legal status stripped away by the president. Mr. Trump's war on renewable energy also threatens the wind industry that produces more than half of Iowa's electricity. So on issue after issue, just getting absolutely clobbered and slaughtered. So stop and think about this. The state that was hardest hit by the tariffs to this point, Texas. Kentucky, another red state, 75,000 farms directly threatened by the tariffs. 95% of the bourbon market threatened by the tariffs. They are the hardest hit when it comes to hospital closures. We have a minimum of 300 rural hospitals that are going to shut down in this country. Could be as high as 742 because of Trump's cuts to Medicaid. The worst of that hits the red state of Kentucky. Kansas, U.S. aid cuts, which were done by Elon and Doge, devastated the crop exports in Kansas, another deep red state. Nebraska, similar to Iowa, beef and pork industries got absolutely obliterated because they lost their workers.
It's unbelievable. Like one after one, it's completely a complete destruction and demolition. I wrote about that of America. So who's happy about him? Nobody. That's why he's not getting the credit because of what he's doing and not him. The whole administration. This is a criminal administration that is dismantling America piece by piece, destroying the lives of American people. That is why people went out to know kings. That is why people feel the way they feel. It's because of this, because of the reality of things. This is why what I mean by authoritarians who are butchers, who by sheer force, they want to impose their ruling on top of people. And they don't understand that you need to, if you were to succeed as an authoritarian for a while, for a long time, this is what you're going to do. Which leads us to one thing I want to say here. A good kind of, I would say, thing to bring up, which is why the whole thing with the Riviera in Gaza. What are they doing there? What they're doing is they're setting up a place where they are protected. See, Europe is off limits right now because if they go to the real Riviera, which is, I think, in France, haven't been there, not rich enough. So the real Riviera, if they go there, that's in Europe. Europe is where the International Criminal Court is. And all of these criminals, once the new administration comes in, which I think that's where we're heading, and once all of these shenanigans are gone, you will see what's going to happen. They are going to be prosecuted, pursued, and they're going to have to basically answer for the crimes that they've committed. These are crimes. How many laws have they completely violated? So all of them will answer to those crimes. So the Riviera next to Israel, they're not going to bring back. I mean, Israel doesn't bring back any of the people that go there who actually are like the latest guy who's a security guy who was caught by the FBI trying to lure a 16-year-old girl. So, and he went back to Israel. That's who's there. So they're not going to go back. They're protected completely. So they're going to build their banking sector. They're going to go take their money there. That's going to be a haven there. That's what the intention is. That's why they have so much attention to it. And that's why they stopped the genocide. The reason is they want to take care of themselves. They have their AI, let's say AI, what do you call them? Like data, not I would say chip farms and stuff like that. These AI centers all over America, taking all the water, all the resources. That's why they were hurt by the mineral deal. The mineral deal, or the China withholding the minerals. What ended up happening is because to slow down the takeover, which is the takeover of the oligarchs of everything. They control all the money. They have all the media right now. They're establishing surveillance of everything. And they are moving everything to the Riviera that they're building, which they're surrounded by not the most democratic countries, if any, right? So they're safe there, safer. That's in my opinion what's going. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but I have a hypothesis that that's what they're doing. So what's going to end up happening is that they they angered people to the point that they have to accelerate all of this because they are not they don't know how to manage, they don't know how to rule, they don't know how to at least satisfy people a little bit so that they don't rebel. That's what you do as an authoritarian. That's what Hafiz al-Assad did. That's what successful authoritarian, again, not supporting that, but that's what they do in the sense that feed the people, give them some semblance of safety. They're not threatened. So, and of course, stop them from expressing themselves. If they try to resist, take them all into jails. But at least so that you don't have a huge base for the resistance. You have a smaller base for the resistance. But these guys destroyed everything, and now everybody is a resistance. So let's show it. Here we go.
Industries got absolutely obliterated because they states. So this is a huge, huge deal, but I do have more for you. So now let's switch to this. Now Maine is not necessarily a red state. It's, a bit of a mixed bag over there in Maine. I believe at the presidential level they voted Democrat for a while, but at the more state and local level, it's a little bit of a different story. They're one of the very rural states that's in the Northeast. But let me walk you through this. This is the impact of two things. Number one, climate change, and number two, Trump's policies and his tariffs and how it's impacting the lobster market. Watch this.
We're worried about the prices going down. The Chinese have made it aware that they're not willing to absorb the cost.
What if I told you that America's lobster industry, once the beating heart of Maine's coastal identity, is collapsing, while Canada enjoys billion-dollar success stories in Europe and Asia? On August 29, 2025, the numbers are brutal. Canadian lobsters now dominate 76% of China's live lobster trade compared to just 25% for the United States. In Europe, tariffs from the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, better known as CETA, ensure that Canadian lobster enters markets tariff-free, while American lobster from Maine remains subject to duties of up to 8%. That small difference in cost reshaped the industry. French restaurants in Paris and Madrid changed menus almost overnight, switching from Maine lobster to homered Canadian. German wholesalers explained that when orders stretch into thousands of pounds, the savings are decisive. The impact was immediate. Canadian exporters saw contracts signed at record levels, while U.S. shipments piled up unsold. The story goes deeper than trade agreements. For families in Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, Ottawa's trade diplomacy delivered a lifeline that transformed small fishing villages. Lobster pounds filled up, export firms grew, and small and medium enterprises thrived. According to Canada's trade ministry, more than 600 SME seafood exporters expanded into new European markets within 3 years of CETA's launch.
That is incredible. I didn't know that about like what's happening in Canadian trade and in regards to this. And I think this is the direction that like we should go as Canadians. And the reason is, first of all, you should never rely on one trade partner that has most of your trade. And the second thing is that Trump and the Trump administration held the livelihoods of Canadians and Canadian businesses, basically held it hostage to force Canada to do whatever they wanted to do. And I think they overplayed their hand. Why? Not because Canada is powerful and all of that. America is still the most powerful country in the world. But you reach a point, I'm sure you did that. If you've ever worked in a job and you quit, let's say, and it's because the CEO, not only was mean to you, or let's say held back, let's say, some of your pay or some of the promises, but did it in such a way that, like, I am doing whatever the hell I want and you can't stop me. It's kind of like a challenge. And did it to the point that even the most benign people, they would say, you know what? I quit. I know I need you. I know, let's say, I need this job, but it reaches a point where I'm quitting. And in this case, Canada needed America. It was America was our largest trading partner, the largest border. Most Canadian businesses that even some of the ones that I worked with, when I advised startups, most of them build their idea. I mean, most of the funding that we raise are from Americans. America is kind of the natural thinking whenever you build anything in Canada. Part of what you're going after is, of course, you're serving the American market. America is an extension. We thought we loved going there. Most of Canadians, go and do tourism in America. A lot of the times when people want to take a van and go around America, and like it was kind of like it was they were our friends. And I don't mean like Americans. Of course, Canadians love Americans. We love Americans. But I mean, like on a political level, we even supported America. We a lot of times, like as Canadians, are interested in American politics. It's it's kind of part of who we are. So then when America turned around and said, and I don't mean again Americans, I mean like the American administration said, you know what, we're going to obliterate and destroy the livelihood of Canadian businesses and Canadian business owners. And it wasn't kind of a negotiation tactic. It was more of forcing Canada, saying, "You're gonna listen to us. You're gonna do what we say, and you're gonna like it." It reached a point where every Canadian, even the most Canadians that love America, was like, screw this. And because nobody's forcing, uh, American products are still in Canada. It's not like the Canadian government removed American products, but Canadians didn't want to. Canadians chose not to travel to America. It's like that because when you attack, it's kind of like if you attack America right now and you attack the American, let's say, uh, not the American administration. If you attack American businesses, if you start, impacting people's livelihoods, what's going to happen? People are going to say, why are we taking this? So that is what happened, and I'm kind of blown away with what's happening here because this is a strategic move, and it shows how Canada is moving. Not the biggest fan of Carney. He has, I would say, a very very hard job of what he's doing because he took over, and in the time America kind of applying all this pressure, and I think this is a success story. It's incredible. From what I'm hearing right now.
For many of them, the deal meant the difference between survival and growth. Mayors across Atlantic Canada called it a turning point. It was like Ottawa handed us the keys to Europe, said Pam Mood, mayor of Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Meanwhile, in Maine, the collapse of the European market cut much deeper than numbers. Generations who passed down boats, traps, and knowledge suddenly saw their heritage undervalued.
Oh my God. I mean, these are families with kids, with people. This politicization or politicizing, like business and I don't mean politics, as you know me, I believe in politics is part of life. But using politics to decide whether you support something or using politics to destroy people's lives or to justify destroying people's lives. That's what I mean by politicization. These people just they were building their lives or they're living their lives. And now you completely destroyed that because the politicization of climate change, where instead of taking care of the problem, now the problem have reached and impact lives. And because you wanted your let's say you wanted your way, and you didn't negotiate and create bridges with the rest of the world, thinking like we are the market, we are the strong ones, we hold all the cards. You can say this, but you don't. People will rebel. People will want their own independence, their own freedom. These people have never freaking read history at all. They don't understand people at all. I'm telling you, coming back to my hypothesis, there are either people that are supremely rich, that they never really had to deal with someone or have a conversation with someone or work with anyone that didn't, kiss up to them just to get their money. So they never really had to negotiate or build anything because they didn't start this is like rich people. And then you have the people who who people don't like them to the point that their families will abandon them. And there are those who are grifters, who are not authentic at all. They're complete liars, completely fake. And these are the people that are there. So they don't care about these people. They don't care that these livelihoods are destroyed. They just like, deal with it. Pull yourself by your bootstraps.
We are not losing because our lobster is worse. We are losing because Canada outsmarted us in trade. Diplomacy, said John Hathaway, CEO of Shucks Maine Lobster. The pain did not stop with Europe. Canada's accession to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, opened new doors in Asia. Japan, Vietnam, and Malaysia all embraced Canadian lobster as a luxury product tied to culture and celebration. Tokyo sushi bars and Hanoi fine dining establishments began presenting Canadian lobster as the prestige option. By 2025, Japan alone imported more than $250 million worth of Canadian lobster, according to the Japanese Ministry of Finance.
One of the main reasons here that this is happening is because of climate change. The water by Maine, off the coast of Maine, has gotten warmer. So lobsters have tried to move north to get more cool water off the coast of Canada. So that's one thing that's happening. The other thing that's happening is the tariffs made it so now Maine is getting hammered and Canada has picked up the slack with international markets. So this is a direct impact of Trump policies and Republican policies more broadly, because of course they don't believe in climate change and they act as if it's not real when the real world impacts of climate change are actually hitting everybody right now and smacking us across the face. All right, more. So we still have this government shutdown going on. The USDA under Trump has come out and said that it will not tap emergency funds for food stamps, leaving 40 million set to lose aid this week.
Oh my God. Like, can you imagine how many kids will go hungry? How many families will suffer because of this? Insanity, absolute insanity. These are crimes, and these people need to be held to account.
That I'm talking to you now, this week. So 40 million families are going to be hit really fucking hard, on the brink of starvation. We'll probably need to go to food banks and desperately try to get by. More on food banks in a minute, because I have an important point on that one. But this is the USDA under Trump saying we're not going to view this as the emergency that it is, and we're not going to pay out on the food stamps. Okay, ready for this? So as Micah points out here, the White House now claims it's legally barred from using emergency funds to keep SNAP running. SNAP is the food stamp program. Journalists discovered that this directly contradicts the USDA's publicly released shutdown plan, which is below here. The White House wants to end SNAP and is lying to protect themselves. So in layman's terms, the White House is going, oh, well, it's illegal for us to pay out on the food stamps. Meanwhile, the opposite is true. Even during a government shutdown, it's perfectly legal to pay out on the food stamps because, having your countrymen not starve is viewed as a vital necessity in what's supposed to be a civilized country.
Unfreaking believable. Like, unfucking believable. These guys, these criminals, they just, like, this is beyond cruelty. This is criminality. This is not about, you being mean and cruel. I think cruelty, like, you have to avoid. There is something in the Constitution like cruel and whatever punishment. I just remembered this for some reason. But to say this is cruelty is to, I would say it's the understatement of the century. This is criminality, and it's unbelievable that they're doing this to people. It's unbelievable.
But Trump doesn't like the program. Republicans don't like the program, so they're saying fuck off. We're not paying. So now you have, by the way, about 40% of the people on SNAP, on food stamps, it's children. They're telling American kids to starve. That's what they're doing. Thousands of furloughed federal workers lined up in Maryland today to get food. Remember the last time we saw something like this? Trump was president then too, and it was a global pandemic. Here, let me play this video. Look how long this line is. Look at this. Look at this. These are all people who have jobs. But now we're what? Over 1 million people furloughed because of the government shutdown? Because Trump and Republicans are demanding that the Obamacare subsidies get cut meaning that healthcare premiums are going to double or triple or quadruple in some instances. I love this reaction here from this right-wing asshole. So, leading report says, breaking, USDA will not tap emergency funds for food stamps. 40 million set to lose aid next week per Axios. This jackass, Mark Lobliner, says, why the hell are we giving food stamps to 40 million people? Does anyone work anymore? The reason we're giving food stamps to 40 million people is because 40 million people live in poverty.
Yes. It's unbelievable. First of all, a lot of those 40 million are kids. You want kids to work? That's the one. The second thing is a lot of them have jobs, but because you're shutting down, it's simply unbelievable. But those are the people who are loud online. This is what they say. Can you imagine that you hear people, your countrymen, anyone? I mean, the fact that we accept that you can accept another human being going hungry when you have the opportunity to stop that anywhere in the world is depraved, deplorable, criminal. The fact that you let your countrymen, people that you supposed to represent, the fact that you let families, American families, when you have the money, when you're sending $40 billion to Argentina, not the people of Argentina, this regime of Argentina, you are giving tax cuts for the rich. You are building 300 million to build a ballroom. How much does it require to fund SNAP? Funding SNAP. SNAP cost just over 100 billion. That's it. And that's 100 billion, I think. Let me just see. We'll read it together. So this is CBC. US states are warning food aid recipients their benefits may not be distributed beginning Saturday if the federal government shutdown stretches into its fourth week. Warning is issued on 24 states. So I want to look at lower income families who qualify for SNAP receive debit cards loaded each month by federal government that work only for groceries at participating stores. So that's how it works, and farmers markets. It provides an average of $187 a month, $187. That's what we're talking about, to 41 million people. This is not like, you're giving them everything. It's around $200, less than $200 for 41 million Americans. So that means, and it's only for groceries, which means they cover for everything else. I mean, it's the program itself. It's is not even enough. Let's put it this way. And they want to cut it. Affecting 1 in 8 Americans. 1 in 8 Americans will go hungry, basically. In the accounting year that ended September 30th, 2024, SNAP just cost just over 100 billion. So accounting year, that's 100 billion. That means every week it's $2 billion. That's it. We're talking about to feed 41 million Americans. I can't believe that we're even talking about this.
And the answer to your question could have been fucking Googled when you asked, does anybody work anymore? Yes, dipshit. The majority of the people in the food stamp program, the SNAP program, work. 62% of them, in fact, work. But we live in a dumbass, hyper-capitalist, exploitative country that says even if you work a full-time job, we're not going to give you enough money to survive, and you're on your fucking own. And that's where the social safety net programs kick in. In fact, companies like Walmart know what they're doing. They are purposely underpaying their workers and basically forcing them to go get Medicaid and forcing them to go get SNAP. So the actual problem here is capitalism. The actual problem here, it's the billionaire class. It's the CEOs. It's these exploitative assholes who are working on their third mansion and their third fucking yacht at the same time that their workers can't afford to feed their goddamn kids. And as I said, 40% of the people on the SNAP program are children. 62% of the people in the SNAP program have jobs.
40% are children. And these are the people who are pro-life. These are the people who want to, save the children. They're the same people who are not releasing the Epstein files. They're the same people who are taking rights away from women. And they're the same people letting 40%, basically 40% of 40 million, that's around 15 million kids, go hungry.
It just so happens that we don't value work in this country. They make it seem like, oh, all these people are fucking lazy. That's the problem. No, they're not. The problem is the system is broken and you're too much of a dipshit to realize that. This is the problem with conservatives. They always default to it's always got to be like a personal, individual moral failing. It can never be a wider systemic problem, even though it is objectively the case that most of the problems we're dealing with are wider systemic problems. But some more information for you here. Take a look at this chart. Would you look at what was happening with retail prices until a certain point in about January? Wow. What was it that occurred in January which could have reversed the downturn, the reduction of retail prices? It's almost like that's when Trump took office. It's almost like that's when he went all in on tariffs. And now the prices have skyrocketed. And the inflation is at a record high. And by the way, shame on the media for not talking about this as much as it deserves to be talked about. True. Because I remember when Biden was president, one of their main narratives was inflation, inflation, inflation. And then now that Trump is president, nobody talks about inflation, even though Trump's inflation is worse. So just absolute shame on not only the media, but also the Democrats for not talking about this, the Republicans for being disgusting, decrepit liars and betting the knee to Trump, even when he's objectively destroying our economy and the country. But this is just completely and utterly unsustainable here, man. This is what we're dealing with. This is completely and utterly unsustainable.
This is what I mean, is that it's the Republicans enabling this and actually calling for it because that's what they want. They're there to serve the donors. And the Democrats, they're also not putting up a fight. Except for who you're going to talk about, which is...
And I would hope that the red states are smart enough to realize that, look, you're not protected from this man's horrible decision making. You're not protected from his corruption. Have they not stopped and thought for a second? Well, hold on now. We have tens of thousands of farmers going bankrupt, and Trump just gave $40 billion to Javier Milei in Argentina after he crashed his economy and destroyed his country. And by the way, there was elections the other day there. It turns out that Trump extorting these people and coercing these people and threatening these people and giving $40 billion to Milei at a last-minute bailout, it turns out that actually effectively rigged the election and made it so Milei's party stayed in power, even though they fucking destroyed Argentina. So, but this is where we're at. You have 77 beef farmers in the U.S. go bankrupt every single day. Meanwhile, Trump says, we're going to buy beef from Argentina. Excuse you? What about the 77 American farmers? What about them that are going bankrupt every day? What about them? What about the soybean farmers who you fucking destroyed and now made it so that China used to have contracts with these people? Now the Chinese are going to Argentina to get their soybeans. So they double fuck us, triple fuck us. Trump double fucks us, triple fucks us by, screwing over the farmers and then also shaking you down for your tax money and giving it to Argentina. Trump's fucking building a massive Great Gatsby ass, Marie Antoinette ass ballroom at the same time that now people are starving in the country he's supposed to be the president of. What a sick thing, bro. What a sick thing we're witnessing. And I think it's time, if they haven't woken up yet, I don't know if they're going to wake up. But certainly everybody with a functioning brain by this point has woken up, which is why his approval rating has plummeted. But it's got to go even lower. Because what we're looking at here is, honestly, historically evil and atrocious. Hey, y'all, do me...
This is let's look at in this context. So keep this context in mind, and let's look at what's happening in New York right now. So we're going to look at a video by Breaking Points. Again, great group of people. They bring together, so you see the red and blue, and that's exactly how it happens. Someone who's Republican and someone who's, let's say, more Democrat or progressive. They are, so they offer the I would say the perspectives, and it's always interesting to listen to them, and they do a good job, I think. And it so happens that Crystal is also Kyle's wife, and they do have a show on their own as well. And I think overall they've been a boon for the independent media, and it gives you like a wider perspective of what's going on. So let's see what they're talking about in regards to Zoran. So keep the context in mind of what's happening in America, and let's see the rise of Zoran.
So we are just over a week out from this New York City mayoral race, which is looking like a fait accompli at this point. But Zoran held a big sort of culminating rally last night. I know Ryan had a reporter on the ground. Our own Griffin was there in the crowd as well. AOC was there. Bernie was there. And actually, Kathy Hochul, and it's kind of interesting. This will get into some of the dynamics. So you guys can go ahead and put this slide.
So let's just clarify what we have. At the time when you have I like white supremacists, and for the lack of anything else, Nazis taking over the White House, taking over America. There's no other way of saying it, building their own army with the money. Right now, what is it? There's a billionaire that is paying for the army, building their ICE army with all the let's say weapons and lack of training. They're not trained, and $170 billion. They're allowing people to go in without training and without background checks, some of them. And again, they're attracting, you can guess who they're attracting. And at the same time that's happening, you see the rise of people like Zoran, and you have all of the attacks on him, and they're not working, and they're freaking out because of this.
I'd show up on the screen while I'm talking. You could see, massive crowd, people waiting outside. I think people got turned away. It was, really high energy and pretty electric from the folks that were there on the ground. And you can feel that just from watching the videos as well.
Newsweek ran a story. I was reading the story. I think it was Newsweek, and they were talking about Zoran Mamdani's New York rally crowd size compared to Donald Trump. That's what we're down to. Nobody's talking about policies. Nobody's talking about, what they're doing and how they're helping the American people. They're comparing the crowd size because there's nothing else that they have to offer this regime in
the pictures. This is just packed.
Yes, and it was a beautiful fall night, and they got great weather.
Okay, let's talk about what we have here. New Yorker, running for mayor, Muslim, brown, like with Uganda, let's say Ugandan origins, a Jewish senator that has ran for president and is one of the most, let's say, ethical and honest people in the Senate and in Congress, even though they start to smear him. Oh, he sold a few books and he has a few houses. I don't need to talk about Bernie and how, not that let's say all of his positions are agreed on, but he is. And then in addition to that, he has AOC, which she's I think from Puerto Rican origin, also from New York, who's a waitress, started as a waitress, used to work as a waitress, and is Christian. I think she's I know she's Christian, but I don't know like which sect or which branch of Christianity. And not that it matters, but you can see who's representing America, who are the people, who is the energy. That's why it scares them, because these people, it's not about their ethnicity. It's not about it's about what they're in service of. These guys have made all of America is about, white grievances, a completely made up thing. There are no white people. There are only people. And the antithesis of what they're saying is like, oh, this guy is a Muslim. He's gonna bring Sharia law. He's gonna destroy New York. And he's the crowd that he brought represents America. The mixture, the it's not about color. It's not about where you come from. It's about what you're in service of, the ideals that you're in service of. And this tells you that people see this. People on the ground see this, which is what scares them. It's not that the politicians scare them. It's not that Bernie scares them, or Zoran or AOC. They don't have power. They don't have money, and they don't have power. They try to make them up like that. Oh, this Soros or Hamas or whatever ridiculous argument, and it all falls apart. What they have to their benefit, or the reason why they attract those clouds, the reason people are interested, is because those people are trying to serve their people, their cities, the people they represent, the American people. Whether you agree with their policies or not, you cannot disregard the origin of where they come from, what they're in service of. And that is what scares them, that the people see this. And if they don't crush those people, and that's why you see everyone, all the billionaires, everyone is pouring money into that. Silicon Valley, everyone just want this to fail because they're scared shitless that this will work, that the people's the people of the United States will actually get to vote someone in that will actually serve their goals. Never and these people have committed. The other thing is that no matter what smear they threw at him, they couldn't. I mean, the guy's not perfect, and I don't think he is, but he's anti-Semitic. Jewish people support him. He's corrupt or whatever it is. He kind of completely showed how Cuomo and Adams, the current mayor, are completely corrupted. So nothing is working, and this shows that the people see this. They are now scared because the people power is showing up, and this is why I say to you, today is a turning point. Today, the people of the United States and the people around the world will look back at this period of time, not today in particular, but this period of time, these few weeks, as where the turning point. And just like Kyle said, there's the America and the world are doing a U-turn. I mean, the world is already there. We see through all of this BS. But the media in the States is kind of like we get a different media, and we get, even though it's still, impacted by money and power, but it's far better. I remember, what is it? I think we should watch this to show you. I think this is important. We'll come back to this in a second. Let's just go to Ben Shapiro interview with BBC. Which one is it? Yes, this one. I want to show you this, and I don't know if you've seen it before or not, but this is the epitome of how they, like, the different, it shows you, regardless of what you think of Ben Shapiro or shit like this, but just shows you the complete difference in how the media operates. Let's see.
Ben Shapiro, you're followed by millions of people online and on social media. You're one of the biggest names in American conservatism. What is it you think you're tapping into?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. One, there is actually a hunger for different ideas. The monolithic nature of the United States media is pretty evident in terms of its politics. People tend to agree on essentially the liberal point of view and increasingly a radical leftist point of view in the media.
Notice, he's saying that the media is agreeing on a liberal view and a radical leftist. Who are the biggest names in media? What are the views that are presented in the media? Nothing that has to do with the left in particular. And this is coming from Ben Shapiro, who leads the Daily Wire, which has 100 million investment at that time received. And that's just as independent. And when did this happen? 6 years ago. But it's to show you.
And obviously I speak in response to that. At the same time, I try to provide an honest take on the issues of the day, and that means that I'm not beholden to the Republican Party, for example. It means that I am going.
This is a complete joke, of course, but let's let him run with it.
Going to speak out whenever I think that a principle is being violated, just no matter who is doing the violation.
Let's see how those principles completely collapse.
You worked for the right-wing Breitbart website, but you left over its support for Donald Trump. And I think you said you'd never vote for Mr. Trump. Why is that?
Well, in 2015, 2016, the Breitbart made a hard turn in favor of one particular candidate, and that's their prerogative. Lots of publications have an editorial point of view, and Breitbart was one of those. The reason that I left Breitbart specifically was because of an incident in which a Breitbart reporter, a female reporter, was grabbed on the arm by Corey Lewandowski, then the campaign manager for President Trump, and was bruised on the arm. And then Corey Lewandowski proceeded to lie about it, and Breitbart proceeded to throw its own reporter under the bus, suggest that she was lying or making this up. And at that point, I determined that I could no longer work for a publication that wasn't even willing to stand up for its own reporters, and instead would throw those reporters under the bus in favor of a candidate that it sought to back.
And if he did that, props up for standing up for this. I do think my cat is eating the pizza. I do think that I do think that it's a clever way to say that it's not over its support of Trump, like Andrew Neil just highlighted. It's because of a principled stance, which if he did that, I'll give that to him. But he didn't answer Andrew Neil's question.
Haven't you lost your battle for the Republican Party, though? Isn't the Republican Party now the party of Trump?
No, I mean, I think that the Republican Party is always...
No, it's not the party of Trump. This is 6 years ago. 6 years ago, it was like 2019. Are you kidding me that the Republican Party is not the party of Trump?
Is the party of whomever is the president, technically speaking. But in terms of who are the sort of the thought leaders inside the conservative movement, who are the people who are driving a lot of the discussion inside the conservative movement, I don't think that's correct at all. I think that most Republicans see President Trump as a vehicle for their policy preferences, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they agree with all of his personal foibles or the way that he behaves or the things that he says. And I think a lot of Republicans respond in anger to the media attacking President Trump, mainly out of a reactionary and half-appropriate upset that the media seem to have a double standard when it comes to covering certain politicians.
Are you kidding me? I don't know if I need to comment on this. Like it's comical, but let's continue because the meat is not there.
I'm interested that you think there's a thought movement inside the Republican Party.
I'm interested to see that there's a thought movement in the Republican Party because there is no thought, but let's see.
I mean, haven't the conservatives run out of ideas in America? All the new policies, the Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, the Green New Deal, they're all coming from the left, and they're popular.
Well, frankly, I'm confused by the idea that any of those are particularly new ideas. I mean, most of those ideas have been around since Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the very earliest, or at the very latest, rather. Some of them go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. But the idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue. We have a very strong debate that goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia.
The conservative halls of intelligentsia. Like Ben Shapiro is known for, like, you know, putting up these big words, but it means nothing. What are the great ideas that the Republicans have done? Remember, this is the first presidency of Donald Trump, and all they got is the tax cuts and build a wall. That's it. Tax cut and maybe a quarter of a wall built or something like this. That's it. That's all they got done. They said repeal and replace, if you remember. Nothing happened. There's nothing that they added to the manufacturing. In fact, they lost manufacturing jobs. The economy struggled after them, and also they ended up with the pandemic, which is they handled, or the Trump administration handled badly. And if you look at everyone who worked with Trump at the time, all of them right now oppose him or talk about what happened. Of course, at the time, they were supposed to be the adults in the room. And that's why in the next administration, which is now, he completely removed anyone that will stand up to him or say no to him.
About what is the appropriate action to take with regard to the medical system. Should global warming be considered a real threat, or should global warming be considered something that technology will solve? And if so,
these are the ideas. Remember, there are no ideas. These are questions. Zero ideas. So he said, oh, we're discussing many ideas, whether climate change is something that is a danger or whether we can solve it with technology. Where's the idea? That's a question. Or that's pondering what's possible. There are no ideas here.
Oh, what are the best aspects of solving that? Now, there's a rich intellectual debate on the right about nationalism versus patriotism, for example.
Nationalism versus patriotism. What the hell does that mean? What is anyway?
Or populism versus free marketeerism.
See, it's all like there are zero ideas. As you notice, this is the intellectual at the time. Ben Shapiro was held as I think he was part of the intellectual dark web that Barry Weiss kind of spoke about, and kind of plagued us with that name and the people that came behind it. And he was the intellectual master of the Republican Party. There you go, the intellectual master of the Republican Party. Zero. So he said, these guys have these policy proposals. You agree with them or not? What are the policy proposals and what are the ideas on your side? Zero. Nothing. Zilch. Nada.
That debate is happening on the right to sort of suggest that the right in America is bereft of ideas, but the left is full of ideas. Number one, not all ideas are good ideas. I mean, AOC is pretty good evidence of that.
So notice what pivoting right now. So to suggest that there are no ideas, which I didn't even have any one idea to bring up, and now to suggest, well, not all ideas are good ideas. He didn't say these are good ideas. He said they are coming up with ideas. What ideas are you bringing? He didn't say it's good ideas. So just the fact, if you don't have ideas, well, not all ideas are good ideas, and therefore that's okay for us not to have ideas, and say AOC is an example.
I'm a big fan of some old ideas myself that I think are pretty good. But beyond that, I think that it is intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that only the left has new and decent ideas.
Intellectual sneering of the highest level. It's a joke. But anyway, he's saying that, well, so answer. He asked you a question, answer. And this is to show you that nobody in the media, have you ever seen throughout the last 10 years, any interview in CNN, MSNBC, or any of them that actually holds anyone to account and asks them real questions? And that's what happens. They crumble because they don't have any answers, and that's why the media has completely abdicated its responsibility of asking real questions from those people to expose them. As we've seen, we're being exposed. Not just Ben Shapiro is being exposed, which he talked about this interview as one of the worst interviews, but in his opinion, like, oh, he didn't handle it well. But what it's doing is that it's exposing that he has nothing to offer, nothing to add, zero. Him and the Republican Party.
Some of the ideas that are popular in your side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages. Georgia, new abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
perfect framing, which is you're saying that there are no ideas. Here are the ideas that you're hiding, that you're not talking about: abortion, scaling back voting rights, removing, any diversity and inclusion, which is exactly what they're doing right now. This is what the ideas, and of course he doesn't address any of the ideas.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
Did you notice? So no answer. Instead of defending what he supported or saying, or responding, which is what politicians or anybody who's media trained, or no matter how media trained you are, this guy is obviously not gonna. I think what happened is Ben Shapiro immediately realized that this guy is not gonna let up, and even if he answers him somehow or answers him in a certain way, or twists things, this guy's going to hold him back. So what does he do? What they always do. Charlie Kirk did that as well. Attack the person, attack their position. Let's see how that goes.
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Are you an opinion journalist, or I'm a journalist who asks questions? I think I should post this clip, and it just exposes their whole shtick. Hopefully you can see the themes and the patterns that Republicans and people of the far right in the media, and even some Democrats and some of the Bill Maher, who's so seen as a liberal, how they kind of twist and turn and change things. And when you have a real person or a real journalist who asks tough questions, which you're going to get to we're going to get to something, but a real journalist who asks tough questions, they completely crumble because they have nothing. They have no ideas, nothing to defend. Their positions are atrocious, and all they resort is to attack the person. You will notice that pattern a lot, and in many of the things that we see.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric and suggest.
Imagine. So you're supposedly, so again, insult the person, because that's what they do, because what he's doing is he's trying to get over or escape this by attacking the person, and then the person will attack him back, and then they will go into the debate, which he likes. But the person in this case is not going into debate. He's not debating him. He's asking a question.
Only one side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that, I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr. Shapiro, I know that broadcasting in America is now so polarized that on one program you only have the left, and another one you just have the right. My job is...
See how he exposed what they're dealing with? I know that in wherever you're actually in the American media, you are only in your comfort zone. You are only, you're either right or all left or whatever it is, and nobody challenges you. I know that's how you deal with that, but here is different.
To question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them. If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you. But
see, so he's being exactly what a journalist should do, is to represent the other. Well, how do you answer to this? How do you do that? So it's challenging the person in order for the person to defend their ideas and their stance and their positions. But what happens in the American media? It's all softball interviews. It's all about, what do you think? And how is that? And some people say this and some people say that. No, here is like they put it into the test. Answer for this. What do you think? Isn't that bringing it to the dark ages? Say no. Say no, it's not the dark ages. Say I stand for this. Say this is what I support, and I believe we should take the rights of women, and I believe these people should be jailed. He doesn't dare to say that because they want to do these things. They want to do these atrocious policies, which we saw when we first started, but they don't want to own up to them. They want to blame somebody else for what's happening. That's the grievance politics that they always run.
You are
really? Would you call the pro-choice position?
So why don't you just answer my question,
sir? I'm happy to answer your question. Please answer this one. Would you suggest that a late-term abortion is brutal?
I'm not taking a
Is it
view
a
on
brutal
this issue.
policy
I'm
to allow
asking
late-term
you the
abortion?
question.
See? So Ben Shapiro is a debate person. He likes to, would you do this? He wants to grab him in a debate. And the person is like, I'm a journalist here. This is about interviewing you. This is not about my positions.
Sir, you just suggested that the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible, so I'm asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill...
Notice, first of all, masterful kind of turnaround from Andrew Neil, and we still don't know the exposure. Unless you know and you've seen this, you don't know how this is going to turn. But I remember seeing it a long time ago. The key here is that look at the look on Ben Shapiro's face. He thinks it's a gotcha. He thinks, because that's how they get it. I thought you're an objective journalist, but how come you're taking a position? Yeah, objective journalists take positions. First of all, objective journalists acknowledge that we're all biased. Everyone who writes, everyone who talks, we're all biased, and we have our positions. And they practice journalism. They ask you the tough questions. They ask you to justify your positions. They ask you to defend what you stand for. That's what journalists should do. And Andrew Neil told him, it's like, I know you're not used to this in America, but this is how we do this in the world of journalism. And BBC is far from the bastion of journalism, but I mean, maybe it was. And you will see who Andrew Neil is, but it's comical.
Banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages. What's your answer?
My answer is something called science. Human life exists at conception. It ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you.
A debate.
You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down the middle.
Purports. You purport to be, you cannot say, you say, you purport to be.
Network.
Yeah.
It obviously is not, it never has been, and you as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages.
Which exactly you are, by the way. But he didn't say that's what it is. Isn't that? He's saying, isn't that taking us to the barbaric? He didn't say, my position is this is barbaric. It's not, he's not debating. He just said, isn't that barbaric and taking us to the Dark Ages? He gave you a chance to answer. You could have said, no, it's not barbaric. You could have said the answer that you said right now. According to science, whatever, XYZ, and we believe these kids should be protected, blah, 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 all of that. But he doesn't. He goes into debate.
Why don't you just say that you're on the left?
Look at Andrew Neil's face. Let's see who Andrew Neil is. Right? Just let's listen. So work with me here. Andrew Neil. All right? Scottish journalist. Here, share this tab. Scottish journalist and broadcaster. He was editor of the Sunday Times. Okay, let's see. What is his... is Andrew Neil conservative? Andrew Neil, born 21 May 1949, is a Scottish conservative journalist and broadcaster. He was until September 13th the chairman of a television news channel, GP News. Let's see. Do they represent his views here? Editor of Sunday Times. Sunday Times, I think, see, appointed by Rupert Murdoch. Sunday Times, I think, is part of that. Where is it here? Let's see the Sunday Times. Sunday Times, British newspaper whose circulation makes it the largest Britain's quality press, whatever. Founded as a New Observer. What does it lean? Does it say where it leans? The Sunday Telegraph, the Observer combines almost. Funding and history. I think it's owned by. Is it owned by Rupert Murdoch right now? Or am I? The Murdoch years. It's owned by Rupert Murdoch, the guy who owns Fox. This is. where is it? Let's see if they talk about the views. Online presence, related publication, notable stories. But basically, they're the right. They represent the right. Andrew Neil is a conservative, and he's on the right. He's like, I think at the time. Look what he says.
Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it.
Oh my God. Like, it's so laughable that he doesn't even like he doesn't even have to justify it. He doesn't even have to defend. This is because it's obvious that Shapiro didn't even research this person, didn't know who this person is. How can you do that if you're meeting them and you're a political commentator? The first thing you know, especially if you're on the right, you check the politics of the person. But he's so used, Republicans are so used to how the media is, I mean, the media treats them. You can see it in Trump's terms. If somebody asks him even a question that challenges him a little bit, that's a nasty question. You're a nasty person. You're a horrible journalist. Why do they do that? Because they're not willing to answer. The same pattern, a little bit more eloquent in purport, like that Ben Shapiro will do, but it's the same pattern. Take aim at the person because you don't have anything to answer for.
So let's move on. Would you vote
I
for
think
Mr.
it's pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Trump? Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
And you notice that he ignores that completely, and it comes back to the whatever the interview is about. He's doing a job. He's interviewing this person and doing the job of a journalist, even though he's a conservative on the right. He didn't take Shapiro's positions. He said that my job is, if you're someone on the left, I'll challenge you on your positions. If you're someone on the right, I'll challenge you on your positions. That is what a journalist does. And the American media is completely devoid of that. Almost completely, except the independent media, which happens, like you see Breaking Points and stuff like that.
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
You're a culture war warrior. Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges to the Supreme Court. He has.
It shows you the political instinct and a complete, I would say, lack of credibility of right-wing commentators. Complete lack of credibility in the US. Again, it's not about their positions. We're not discussing their positions are atrocious, which they are, according to us. But the complete lack of credibility, trust, or any semblance of intellectual honesty. Complete. He's telling him, you betrayed all positions that you have, and you were wrong about the substantive things. You why basically are you there?
As
right.
So you were wrong.
And so I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
He likes his policy, but serious reservations about his character. It's not worth it. I'll put a link to it, but this, I thought it would be very interesting to kind of come back to that and see where we're at before we come back to what's happening with Zohran Mamdani and what Breaking Points are talking about. Where were we? What was it? It's tax rich. Okay, that's the one. I think that's
and all of that kind of
Stavi.
stuff. There you got Stavros and you got Bernie and Zoran there. Quite a picture. That's quite a moment. Quite a moment in time. I'd love to be privy to that
The
conversation.
boys,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But in any case, you bringing together Bernie, AOC, and Kathy Hochul for Zoran is interesting because Hochul is like a moderate. She's like standard issue Democrat. She's tried to govern as a moderate. She has opposed, so Zoran wants to raise taxes on the rich to fund his proposals, specifically his proposal for free childcare, which is of the things that he's proposed, that's the biggest one to be.
So notice what's happening here. What's happening here is a regular Democrat is basically opposing, or a standard issue Democrat, as they say, which someone who not necessarily the same. In fact, their policies are usually moderate. They're usually more pro-business, as they call them. Not to say that what Zoran is not pro-business, and on the contrary, is actually more pro-business, which is more for small businesses and for business people. But that's the standard issue Democrat, and she opposes. She's not on the side of Zoran's, let's say, tax, like increasing tax so that they can fund child health care, which is extremely expensive, so that it allows for more people to work and more people to, like, it's in my opinion, it's a great policy, or the approach. I don't know the policy itself, but the approach, the idea that you tax people, you tax the wealthiest people so that you can support more child health care, so that more people have the ability to work. And so it's actually a good policy. It's to make the metro better. I think that is a great thing to do. So she talks about that, and notice, very important here is that what the people push for and where the people are. So we hear all the time that people don't want this, people don't want that, and people want what Trump wants, or people want what the main policies that are being passed in Congress are. But if you know anything, you know that Congress doesn't represent Congress, the administration. They don't represent the American people. And this is the moment where the American people in New York, at least the people of New York, are saying what they want.
Be able to pull off in terms of the various programs that he's put forward. And she has said in the past that she was opposed to it. So let's take a listen to this. This is the crowd chanting at Kathy Hochul to tax the rich, and her having to deal with that in real time and respond to it, and almost losing control of the crowd at one moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
I can hear you. Agents flooding our streets as we speak.
You have the power! You have the power!
They're everywhere, and they're terrorizing innocent people. And we can't let them out.
So they're yelling at her there, do something, when she's talking about, ICE's abuses of power, et cetera. And I think it's pretty significant shift for this moderate establishment Democrat to feel the heat from the, I'm not even going to say the left of the party, because this man is the Democratic nominee. He won overwhelmingly. This is just the base of the party.
Yes, this is very important. They try to show Zoran as this radical leftist, as this radical that is somehow, with Hamas's money, like one of the smears, with Hamas's money, captured New Yorkers. The most opinionated people on planet Earth. The most, if you've dealt with any New Yorker, if you know anything about New York, these people are direct. These people are, I love New Yorkers, by the way. Like, there's no BS in New York. Like, of course, we're generalizing, but people will let you say, if you want to see how ICE is going in New York and how they're standing up for New York in particular. These are not, if you lived in New York and if you went to New York, I love the city, These are New Yorkers. They will stand up. They will make you feel what they want. They will tell you. So Zoran can't hoodwink them. Okay, the majority, when there's a movement to support him, there's this kind of groundswell of support. This comes from the real needs on the streets. You can't buy this support. In fact, there was, I think, this video that told somebody was being interviewed. I have to find that video. Somebody was being interviewed, and there's so much money going to Cuomo, Adams to drop out of the race, Cuomo to smear Zoran, and even paying people to support Cuomo, and it's not working. Billions of dollars, not, well, I don't think billions, millions of dollars going towards supporting Cuomo. I think, what is it? Bloomberg spent like maybe $10 million or something like that. Like, there are millions of dollars, and from everywhere, Silicon Valley, and you see Donald Trump talking about that, even to the point that they're threatening to deport him. All right, they used everything. Muslim, they made even his beard. I think in one of Cuomo's emails, they made his beard a little bit thicker, darker, his color skin darker, just to scare people that this is New York, and New Yorkers are not having it. So it's pretty significant, and it shows you the shift on the ground of what people want. What people want is not what Trump is telling you or the Democratic operatives are telling you.
That is like, we are going to hold you to account, and we understand where you're falling short, and we're going to yell at you to your face, even at this rally. At the very end, Zoran came out like a little bit early to, get the crowd sort of back in line and put his arm around her and give her some support, because she's there obviously to support him. But the fact that you have these figures all coming together now behind Zoran and him really kind of running the show and putting pressure on the sitting governor to back his policies is quite an extraordinary moment.
Yeah, and I'm beating this dead horse, but it just does remind me so much of the years between like 2010 and 2015. Actually, there's almost something Trumpian about it when Ted Cruz was railing against Donald Trump, and then 2 months later campaigning with a smile on his face next to Donald Trump. It has that feel to it. Or
Donald Trump captured the anger that people had at the time. He rode that wave, made those promises, and failed to deliver on it. That's how he captured the Republican Party, because the Republican Party was just like the Democratic Party, just a bunch of politicians who are serving the donors. And he came as an outsider, populist, telling it as it is, whatever the lies that he said, the scams that he did. And the difference between him and the Democratic, let's say, rising stars right now, that he promised, never delivered, severely underdelivered, and it's all about the money for him. And it's obvious right now, while these guys are promising and they're working to deliver. And they come from the people. People see them. Zoran is close to the people, has been very close to them. He's built his support. He didn't just came out of nowhere. He's been, I think, working in politics for a while right now. So this is the real danger for them.
When everybody was raging against Sarah Palin, and then Sarah Palin was the hottest ticket in the Republican Party, like that was the best way to get an endorsement circa like 2012 was from Sarah Palin. And so you had all of the establishment figures sort of gritting their teeth and smiling in photo ops with the Sarah Palins or the Ted Cruzes at a certain point. So it has that feel to it, and it just reminds me of that poll from over the summer that found Democratic voters' satisfaction with their own party is super similar to what Republican voters' favorability of their own party was during the Tea Party years. When you hear, because I think one of the things about that chant is, and this gets to the appeal of Zoran, is that, and we'll talk about this later, I think, but he's always got a smile on his face. He's not a sort of dour socialist, right? Like, he's a happy populist, which is a hard thing to do. It's not an easy thing to pull off, because you're talking about people's immiseration and corruption, and doing it with a smile on the face makes a big...
That is what also, if you remember, that's what Trump did as well. He was joking around. Of course, he was atrocious in like with some of the things he said, but mostly his rallies were fun rallies, in the sense that he would joke around. He would do stuff completely. It wasn't the grievances. It wasn't about, they all hate me. They all do that. It was more about, this is who I am. I'm the power. I know the politicians. I'm a great negotiator. It was like more like that. And now every time it's like, oh, they never recognize me. They didn't give me the piece. Like it's completely shifted towards that.
Big difference, but that crowd was really angry. You could kind of hear it in the chant. That crowd was angry at Kathy Hochul, really, really angry, which is why she sort of had to say, "I hear you." It's like when your mom is driving and you're like, "I want lunch. Like, give me pull over. Like, when are we going to eat?" She's like, "I hear you. I hear you."
We're getting
That's what
there.
that
Let's
was.
just get a little bit further down the road.
That's what that was.
Yeah, well, and so that's why, first of all, the margin of his victory is going to be closely watched. I think people are looking at, okay, does he get over 50%? Right, because if he wins over 50%, then there's no cope around like, oh, we could have had the majority position was anti-Zoran, and so if we just had a different, better candidate, not Andrew Cuomo, maybe.
This is gonna, depending on the results, it's gonna impact the Democratic Party and the new kind of rising stars there, and how they move. And let's see how it impacts the Republican Party and the fear in the hearts of the rich and powerful. We're done for today. I do want to finish with my favorite, the ladies at the I've Had It podcast. The amazing women that are there. They're incredible. And this is a masterclass. Let's listen together, and definitely one of my most recommended channels. Let's see what they say.
You know who I'm talking about. Kankel's McTaco Tits, the dementia-ridden, convicted felon, piece of shit president that we can only refer to as Kanks. He is so.
I just love. Just to give you an idea, these guys were the moderate Democrats. Okay? They were moderates. I haven't seen them before, but their rise is insane. They now have like 1.3 million viewers. Look at this, 9 hours ago, 200,000 views. It's insane, their rise. And they're completely representing kind of the anger that people have. And they are in a deep red state. And they don't hold back at all. They're completely direct, and they say it as it is, and I love it. You gotta love it.
So butthurt over Canada using a clip of Ronald Reagan. He is spiraling. He is so emotional and so weak. And it reminds me of all of the times that all of these MAGA men and even MAGA women say, oh, women are too emotional to be in politics. All it takes to trigger Kanks is to play a clip of Ronald Reagan saying that tariffs suck and tariffs are dangerous. So here's Kanks. He literally just makes up reality everywhere he goes.
She calls him Kanks because it's because of his ankles swollen, Kankles they call him, and McTaco Tits because of taco. He's like the what is it? I think the as a taco was meant like taco McDonald's. Basically, he's afraid of confrontation and he fails. So it's really funny, and I think it's important to make fun. And they talk about that. It's important to make fun of these so-called strong men and authoritarians.
And he's surrounded by a bunch of bottom feeder flea bags that are like, oh yeah, that's true, because they're too scared of being humiliated by him. So here he is lying about Ronald Reagan. Play the clip.
I don't know. They cheated on a commercial. Ronald Reagan loved tariffs, and they said he didn't. And I guess it was AI or something. They cheated badly.
I think she's going to talk about that, if I remember. But this is the guy that is the president of the United States. This guy. They cheated. This is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. think of it in any context. This guy is the most powerful person in the world. All of his life, rich. All of his life, never had to work for anything. Everything's given to him. They cheated. Oh my God, they cheated. Daddy, mommy, they cheated. They used AI. It's so pathetic. Anybody who worked for anything in their lives, they should look at this. And I think they would look at this and say, why are we like, this guy doesn't deserve to be there. It's kind of like when you go work for a company and your manager or the CEO, they're like not just less smarter than you, like less deserving, and you're sitting there and you're like wondering, how did this happen? How am I working for that idiot? For this person who adds zero value and doesn't deserve any of this, because he's the son of the boss, or he has the money, or he was lucky, or whatever. This is how this feels like. This is the guy that has his finger on the nuclear button. The least deserving person. The least. I can think of 1 million people far more deserving than he is. Far.
Canada got caught cheating on a commercial. Can you believe it?
Canada got caught cheating on a commercial. Just the intellectual degradation, of that statement is chef kiss.
Okay, all of that is made up. Canada did not cheat on a commercial.
I mean, she has to even address Canada did not cheat. What are we, in an exam? Oh, it's not fair what they did. Trump is saying this. Trump is saying that it's unfair what they did. What do you mean it's what are you talking about? You're the one who attacked them. You attacked Canada at the very beginning. And I think she's going to talk about that. Let's see what she says about Reagan.
Ronald Reagan would have hated Kinks's guts. And there was a time like 8-10 years ago where people in the Republican Party, like Ronald Reagan was Saint Reagan. And
yes, Ronald Reagan was literally like everything. Ronald Reagan. And so they used, in fact, Canada's using this to reach out to Trump, to kind of push him a little bit, nudge him. Like, that's the least nudge. It's like, hey, this is your guy. And even that is not working. Like, nothing's working. These guys are out of their freaking mind.
Recognizing the poor. But there was a decency and some kindness in a lot of his language. And how the Republican Party has shifted to full-on dictatorship and full-on cruelty is something they need to figure out, because these people are total pieces of shit. If you listen to that man lie all the time and you think, yeah, he's a great president, and you're on one of those polls, do you approve or disapprove of Kinks's job? And you're like, oh yeah, I think he's doing a bang up job. You're fucked up. I mean, there's nothing more to it than that. All right. Shout out to the Daily Beast, because there is an actual Kinks watch going on. And I'm talking about looking for the Kinkles. So he's abroad right now in Asia, embarrassing the United States of America and himself. And put up this headline, Kylie. Trump, 79, flashes Kinkles at summit with Asian leaders.
You gotta love it. Shoot up inflation. The president's swollen ankles were photographed as he sat down in summit leaders. This is great, because we need to make fun of these supposedly powerful men. Look at this guy. I mean, look at him.
The guy who wrote this is Eric Foster, and he says the president's swollen ankles were photographed as he sat down at a summit with leaders of Southeast Asian nations. Look at those. Look at those Kinks on Kinks. This is excellent journalism. And let me tell you why. because the authoritarian and the dictator has to admit, I'm so masculine, I'm so strong, I am a strong man. Strong men that are lying, that clearly have dementia, as I showed you in the former clip, and that have swollen cankles like that, that's where fissures happen and the personality cult starts to die off. So this is really important journalism for democracy. Yes, it feels good and it's petty AF, but it's actually super duper important journalism.
Yes, no longer we go high. If they go low, we go high. We go lower. We eviscerate them. We make fun of them. We push against it. We expose them. That is how journalism should work.
Because we have to show the public that this man, your strong man, your dictator, your tough guy, is basically barely hanging on because all of the blood in his body is down at his cankles, and there ain't nothing pretty about that. All right, moving along. We have Kanks in Malaysia rambling. He's still butthurt, you guys, about the UN, about the teleprompter and the escalator. He cannot get over shit like this. It's unbelievable. Play the clip.
I won't forget that day because it was one of the first wars that I got involved in. And I love doing it. It's like, I shouldn't say it's a hobby because it's so much more serious than a hobby, but it's something that I'm good at. And it's something I love to do. The United Nations should be doing this, but they don't do it.
I am probably 10 IQ points dumber after listening to this every time I listen to him. But regardless of that, if you remember any clip here, let's say clip of Trump talking, let's say, policy in 2017. Let's talk here. Let's see how Trump is. Look how different he is. Look at the difference.
Each American generation passes the torch of truth, liberty, and justice in an unbroken chain all the way down to the present. That torch is now in our hands, and we will use it to light up the world.
See? Complete difference between that guy and this guy.
You know, they don't do it. They turned off my teleprompter when I made a speech. I had to make a speech without a teleprompter. They're good at that. The escalator.
This is like my jaw is like, what are we talking about? This is the president of the United States talking, using valuable time. Remember, his time is, considering what he leads, is immensely more important than my time or yours. So when he spent a second about this is a second that could be spent making the world better, making America better, all of that. And he's choosing it to talk about, they didn't operate the teleprompter, they stopped the escalator. He's not over anything. He's so petty. He cannot go over anything, and he has everything. He should say, we are here for an important job to create, like this and do that, and this is what we, so at least inspire something. Like, I've listened to authoritarians before, even the worst ones. They talk about, the great things that they're gonna do. They don't air petty grievances because this shows you as weak. This is what they know. But since has dementia and doesn't know this, he doesn't know. Not the same power, let's say, person that he was. Not that he was better, just to agree, but just as a kind of presence and power, doesn't have any.
It wasn't working too well. It came to a complete halt.
Okay. First of all, we have to point out at the beginning of this video, you guys, he makes the argument that wars are a hobby of his, that getting involved in wars are a hobby of his, because nobody will fact check him of this lie that he has, quote, solved 8 wars. And that is 100% false. But as he's talking about his hobby of solving wars, he goes on to talk about the teleprompter, and you could hear a chuckle. Those were not the Asian diplomats. Those were the flea bag, ass kisser sycophants that travel around with him, that laugh at his non-jokes all the time. I'm talking about Witkoff, Rubio, Nutlick, all of them. So that's just pathetic. And again, this is supposed to be the strong man. This is supposed to be the guy that everybody thinks, you know what, if we lose democracy, it's okay because this guy's so smart, so selfless, so empathetic. This is the guy they're willing to give up their civil liberties for a guy that is butthurt over an escalator and a teleprompter. All right, moving along. Here we have, he will not get off this Tylenol thing.
Yeah.
Put up the lie social. Pregnant women, don't use Tylenol unless absolutely necessary. Don't give Tylenol to your young child for virtually any reason. Break up the MMR shot into 3 totally separate shots, not mixed. Take chicken pea, because I don't think he knows how to spell pox, shot separately. Take hepatitis is misspelled. Take hepatitis B shot at 12 years old or older, and importantly, take vaccine in 5 separate medical visits. President DJT. You guys, this is so insane that he cannot get off this Tylenol thing. And he has been on this vaccine thing for a really long time. And there have always been kind of these rumors. They were around during Trump 1.0, but Barron was a minor at the time, that Barron was possibly on the spectrum. And he, during his first campaign in Trump 1.0, he would talk when he rambled on at his events that, you know, you see this little baby and they just inject all of this stuff they inject it in. And there were some videos of Barron possibly having like maybe some spectrum style tics or whatnot, which a lot of people are on the spectrum. To me, it's no big thing. But he was really, really interested in this. And reports have actually shown that it's not Tylenol that can increase the chances for autism, but actually older sperm. And Kanks, when he impregnated Melania with Barron, he was an old man. And, you know, now he's just even older. And so the merger with RFK Jr. with this makes sense because he wants to, he cannot understand, as a guy who believes I have super strong genes and he believes in eugenics, he cannot understand that if Barron is on the spectrum, that it would have anything to do with him. And it would have to be Tylenol. And I'm sure I'm sure Melania's like, yeah, I took Tylenol back then. So I don't know that that's completely true. But if you go back and look at videos and things, and now Barron's worth $150 million at age 19 because his dad is all about double dealing and shaking everybody down.
Meritocracy, 150 million, because of his smartness.
All right, you guys, this is so embarrassing. Here is Kanks doing this old man grandma dance in Malaysia on the tarmac. And he used to do the double jerk off, both hands the same level, right? Now, I think, remember that time we saw him at the 9/11 thing and his face was like drooped like this, and everybody's like, and he was missing for like 5 days. And I was like, did he have a mini stroke? Did he have some sort of stroke? As he does this humiliating old man grandma dance, look at the left arm. Play the clip.
First of all, extremely embarrassing. All right. Imagine if Obama did it. If Obama went on an official visit and he danced in front of, or did any kind of move like this. Can you imagine? We had people like that in the Arab world. We had dictators who had, like tics and certain movements, and we laughed them off. People are laughing at this. This is just a laughing stock.
Okay. I just, you know, this is really tarnishing our reputation. I mean, this is humiliating. And this is just one of the least offensive, least horrible things he's done. I think y'all may remember that Obama would kind of dance, and they said he was kind of like a white man dancer, and Fox News would lose their mind about it. This is just like, he
Remember the tan suit that Obama wore, and like the world ended.
literally looks like a psycho that escaped from the memory care wing of a nursing home. It's just
I love
unbelievable that this is the strong man, that this is the villain that everybody celebrates. This guy right here.
This is the guy you're losing your democracy to. This is the guy that you're suffering. You don't have any food. Your prices are raising for this guy. Not even somebody who's like you can be proud of. The worst person, failed business person, scam artist, and all the rest of like. Don't get me started.
This is who everybody becomes worse for. They were, you know, kind of selfish. I'm all about capitalism. I don't have a problem with racism, Republicans, to now they're full blown, full tilt racism. I'm as selfish as all get out, and I'm losing my mind, my integrity, my courage for this guy. It's
absolutely, completely on point, which is the Republican Party right now, completely devoid of dignity, self-respect, any kind of principles, complete.
Crazy. I will never, ever get over it. And to highlight what AOC said a while back, that she thought the villains would be somewhat like, kind of like cool, evil geniuses. And are these dipshits, that guy.
I love it. I should write an article called Dipshits and just list their names. It's incredible.
That embarrassing white man, old man dance in Malaysia. That's who we're going to erode civil liberties for. That's who we're going to rip up the Constitution for. That's the guy that your former friends, you used to have friends that were pretty decent people, but they were Republicans, and now they're fucking batshit in a cult.
So true. I had a friend like that. So true. And they went like, I couldn't believe that how these people turned into complete insane people because of him.
For that guy. That's the guy. It's wild. Okay. Now here is Kanks, and he wants to investigate the 2020 election. Put up the lie social. Just in, documents show conclusively that Christopher Wray, deranged Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, and other crooked lowlifes from the failed Biden administration signed off on Operation Arctic Frost. They spied on senators and congressmen and women and even taped their calls. They cheated and rigged the 2020 presidential election. These radical left lunatics should be prosecuted for their illegal and highly unethical behavior.
So I think this is really important of what they're setting up to do, because Donald Trump wants a third term, and it's the way out of being going to prison, basically. And what they're doing is they're attacking everyone who's they're basically removing the legality, because instead of trying to beat the Constitution, they're removing the legality and the legitimacy of the 2020 election, and that way that gives them path to, well, he already is serving a third term because he technically won there. So it's very interesting.
Okay. Here's just a theory that I have. He is so butthurt still over the 2020 election because all this man has is grievances. Everything when he wakes up is either to say, I did something good or I was wronged. Those are his two motivating forces in life. I did something really good or I was wronged. And of course, in between all that, he has to grift and steal. So, you know, he wants a third term, and everybody around him wants a third term because they've all committed a lot of crimes in just these 10 months that he's been back in office. And I think there's one avenue that they're going to approach this with is to say he actually did win 2020. and they're going to put the fix in, and they're going to produce some bullshit evidence, just like they did with the Charlie Kirk trans boyfriend shooter thing, and just like they did with the anti-ICE bullet. They're going to cook the books, and they're going to say, oh, oops, he already is in his third term. Therefore, the 22nd Amendment doesn't apply to him. Of course, all of these Republicans will go along with it. Of course, SCOTUS will go along with it. Now, I do think they're going to have other avenues to try to get him to the third term, because these people cannot have any transfer of power, and they cannot have the Democrats win the midterms because they are looking at prison. I mean, we have seen crime after crime after crime after crime committed by this administration. So I think this is one way that they're going to do it. And it is two birds, one stone. Number one, it fixes in Trump the fact that Joe Biden beat him like by 7 million, 8 million votes, which he never got over. He's still not over. Number two, he gets all of the people who know the truth of what he did afterwards when he incited an insurrection, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, he gets to incarcerate them. And number three, it gives an argument to his dipshit, sycophantic, ass-kissing lawyers and supporters. Oh, oops, this is already the third term. So we've already broken the 22nd Amendment. So NBD, no big deal. Let's go to the fourth term. And then finally, I want to leave you all with this clip. Here he is on Air Force One on his Asian tour. And while he was doing this, Zoran Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, Kathy Hochul, and AOC had a big rally in Queens, New York for the incredibly popular mayor who's beating everybody by double digits, hasn't taken 1 cent from corporate donors, beholden to no one. He's a candidate for the people. And AOC is really talented.
That scares the shit out of them.
And she's probably going to run, and she has a huge movement behind her. And she gave a barn burner of a speech last night. You can check it out in an episode that I did earlier to cover it. But Trump obviously knows what a threat she is and how popular she is, and how AOC has the ability to get triple Trumpers to cross over and vote for her. Mm-hmm. And so here's what he said.
Because she's honest. Because she stands for the people, because she does. Listen, you agree or not with policies, but you can't you cannot deny that these people are honest. They don't take corporate PAC money. They don't, let's say, they stand for what they believe. They don't back out. They don't kind of double down. They are the closest possible to the kind of politicians people want to see. And that is what's happening. That's why it scares them.
About AOC on Air Force One. Play the clip.
They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ.
These people are low IQ. And you hear Trump, how he talks about anything. He's high IQ. Let's see.
You give her an IQ test. Have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was.
This guy takes exams for dementia and for mental acuity because he's old. And he's saying, have her pass these exams. These exams that you remember, like the man, TV, child, whatever, giraffe, these kind of things. This is what this guy is talking about. This is what we reached. And it's like more than a joke. If somebody wrote this as a movie, people would kind of say, it's ridiculous. Like, this is silly. This is silly. It's like nobody would believe something like this happened, even in like fiction. I mean, truth is weirder than fiction indeed.
I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe.
Are you freaking kidding me? Like, this is like your child, a tiger, giraffe. This is the president of the United States. And look at who's standing next to him, Marco Rubio. He knows better. And this is who he's choosing to serve. This is why you can't trust any of those people. because this is what they're capitulating to. They have zero dignity, zero personality, completely corrupt in order to get their way, in order to get their money, in order to get whatever their policy path. Zero principle. They stand for nothing. For nothing. Unbelievable.
You know, when you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to
You see that look? You see? That's the look of a man. I'm talking about Marco Rubio, who knows this is all bullshit.
10 and 20 and 25.
We had people like that in Syria. We would know, like, the people who are around the politicians singing their praises and all of that. We had the same. Like, I think I remember when they had the cabinet meeting, and I said, this is like the cabinet meeting of the Syrian president.
They couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
You guys, he's talking about taking dementia tests. And in this same interview, he talks about getting an MRI. And he starts off with an IQ thing. And this is his big thing. He always goes to people having a low IQ, which I guarantee you back in the day, he took an IQ test and his IQ was low. I don't think there's any question that we can all witness.
I mean, like, why do you focus on this? If they're lower IQ, you don't even mention them. If you had a strong person or a strong man, and I mean, not even really, someone who's pretending to be strong, even if you're pretending, if you're in the act and you're pretending to be strong and you don't look at people, you just ignore them, you treat them like, you know, like they're nothing. But the reason he brings them up is because he's very I would say not uncomfortable, very insecure compared to those people, because they have something real. It's not about them, it's about what they're able to accomplish. AOC has a lot of following. Zoran has a lot of following. Trump, remember, is all about the ratings. It's all about, you know, how many people like him and what people think about him and about others. So he sees their popularity and he's threatened. He sees that they stand for something, he's threatened, something that he never had and never will.
That every day. We all know he has dementia. We see it. We hear it. It's obvious this man has dementia. Sometimes he says things that happened when Biden was in office, and he's confused about who was president at the time. He moves on to these cognitive tests in this flurry of dementia-ridden shit. And he's talking about tiger, elephant, giraffe. But then when you get up to like the 25th, it gets really hard. He thinks he can beat people in their 30s at a dementia test. That's where we are in the United States of America. We've got Kanks bragging about doing well on his dementia tests at Walter Reed and challenging 30-year-olds, Jasmine Crockett and AOC, to see if they can do better on the dementia test.
I mean, can you imagine if this was anybody else at any level? They would, the far right media will never stop talking about it, mentioning it and saying, like, they will make memes, and it will be like just this clip. If it was anybody else talking anything near to that, it will become like a national story that we'll talk about for months. It's unbelievable.
Because this man has delusions of grandeur, and he is surrounded by people, even medical doctors, who say, oh my God, you're so healthy.
These are the people that should go to prison as well. Because there's absolutely, you're in America, like in Syria, we would actually excuse those people, just to give you an idea. We'd excuse those people because if you oppose the leader, you're dead. Like, literally, you disappear, your family would disappear, a political prisoner, 20, 30 years, you will not be heard at all. You will not be heard of at all, which you're going down that direction, but you're still early. Like, it's happening, you know, they're capturing, but they're capturing the weak people, and they're using lawfare, and they're using, like, you know, these DOJ, you know, witch hunts, literal witch hunts, no, not literal witch hunt, but I mean like the witch hunt that Donald Trump used to complain about. That's actually what they're doing right now, because every accusation is an admission. So they're using that to scare people and to push them, but in Syria, if you said anything, even in your diary or somewhere, or they discover, you completely disappear. So we kind of excused people because everybody knew that you're risking your life. But here, what are you threatened by? You can speak against the president. Yes, America is far worse than it was 10 months ago, far worse than it was several years back. But it's far, I mean, these people are able to speak. This thing, like someone like her would not even dare do that. If they would not even dare mention anything about that, other than the dear leader is great and the dear leader is great. This is true. That's what they do. So that is what the far right media is doing right now. The dear leader, they're doing, that's how all of the media in Syria is like the far right media right now. Everything is great. All of it is great. And this was what she's doing would be outside media. That's what they would do. And even if they do like a small segment, they will clutch their pearls, just like what Ben Shapiro did in the clip that is passed that we talked about.
You're so smart. You're so great. But the fact that he keeps trying to criticize AOC tells you they know how effective she is. Mm-hmm. Tells you that MAGA knows that the movement of the resistance is not rooted in Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker. The movement of the resistance is rooted in Zoran Mamdani, in AOC, and Bernie Sanders. And shout out to Kathy Hochul for being at that rally at Queens last night, for standing up for Zoran against all of the horribly racist, bigoted attacks launched at him by these billionaires and millionaires who think they're better than everybody else. And so I think this is a really, really interesting idea. I say AOC and Jasmine should say, let's do it. Let's take the dementia test. Grandma,
agree.
Let's do it, sis.
Yeah.
Let's see how everybody does. Let's do it live on TV. Because you know what he'll do? He'll tuck his tail between his legs and he'll run and hide in his Marie Antoinette Oval Office, and he'll never fucking do it. And the fact that he keeps talking about his cognitive tests tells you everything you need to know. He's failed them. He has failed his cognitive tests, and he has full-blown dementia, and he is running the United States of America. International listeners, please send rescue. All right, that's all.
Absolutely masterclass. I love what the I've Had It podcast are doing. Thank you everyone for being here. This was a lot of fun. I hope you got really great value. You enjoyed the videos, enjoyed the commentary. Let me know what you think. Send me some of your ideas if there's anything you want me to review, talk about, and let me know what you think about this mixture of bringing business, talking about technology, talking about politics, talking about anything in the style that I do. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to see what you think and take it from there. And I wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you for being here with me. I'm enjoying these podcasts and these streams, and I look forward to the next one. Bye for now.